93 Indianapolis.
It's Query and Company.
I'm going to be keeping you company for the next few hours.
You are not going to believe the company.
This company.
You're going to bankrupt your mama's company.
At least I have the radio to keep me company. On 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
This is the good news. This is the exciting news. Again, I'm not pessimistic, Pete. I'm bright side, baby. I'm the Killers. I'm Mr. Brightside because I'm looking at the bright side of everything. For example, this is realistically the last Friday for like the next month and a half that anybody is actually going to expect you to be anywhere. After this, it's all just Katie bar the door. People forget what day of the week it is. It's the holidays. There's events. There's dinners. There's get-togethers. There's people dropping in town. But it's not to say that we don't come in and execute and get through letting you know everything that's taking place in the world of sport, because the sport world is a huge part of the calendar of events for the next week and a half or so. But the point being, I hope all of you are getting set for a couple of weeks of whatever it is that you celebrate, but simply being around family, being around good health and enjoyment. And there's plenty to talk about, both college basketball, the NFL, thought a fabulous game last night, as well as the NBA. But before we do all of that, I know that the Flintstones are not necessarily topical in 2025, but they do have one hit that I spin one time each year, and admittedly, selfishly, it is more significant, more important with each passing year that I'm able to play it. Eddie, if you have the song right now, go ahead.
Oh, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary.
On this, the 19th of December. This, of course, was when Fred was waking up Wilma, I believe, for their anniversary. I have no idea what the date was. But it is not just the anniversary of the birth of my buddy Matt Churchman, whose birthday is today. But more importantly, Eddie, if you could please, and yes, selfishly, but I ask the entire city to do so with me, please wish the happiest of 61st wedding anniversaries to none other than Lloyd and Karen Query.
Happy anniversary to Mr. and Mrs. Query.
So my dad is, as we, I think people know, I try to be pretty transparent, not that people care, but
we sometimes thank you for the contribution of Jake into this world.
Depending on the day. My dad's gone through a health journey. He had a stroke in July and is now recovering in a facility that is fantastic up on the northwest side. Met somebody yesterday, listener of the show, whose dad is there as well. But so we are going to go over as a family and celebrate for my parents' wedding anniversary after the show today. But 61 years together, and wanted to certainly wish them a happy anniversary. The NFL, obviously the Colts getting set. It is weird because typically on a Friday we are setting the stage for the weekend of games culminating with the Colts on Sunday. And it is a Monday night game, obviously, with San Francisco. I thought last night, though, a couple of things that took place last night. First, I want to thank Night Owls and Zinc Distributing and Mick Ultra. We had an awesome time last night for our mini hoops. We had to be a record number of participants partaking in our mini hoops challenge. We will do this again in January, but Mick Ultra puts it on along with Zinc, where your chance to win that particular round, last night was round 2 of these that we will do, and each time that we go out, the high score then is entered into the finals, with the grand champion of all of this will be going to Milwaukee with hotel voucher and on Mick Ultra to go up and watch the Bucks take on Miles Turner's old team, the Blue and Gold, up in Milwaukee. And so last night was another round of that, and Night Owls, it was not only awesome just to be out and meet different listeners of the show and be down in Beech Grove, and to see the fun that people were having at just a neighborhood joint. You know what I mean? I mean, you saw they had what had to have been 1,000 dartboards in there and poker going on and the Pacer game playing and seeing all of these people coming together and just enjoying an evening with their coworkers, with their neighbors, with their friends. Very cool. Would love to say hello to Randall, who came up to me. He and his brother, regular listeners to the show, said they're driving trucks and they're in the truck. And he said, man, we're locked in. And Randall, I appreciate it. It was great meeting you last night. Same for Jacob. Jacob, the pride of Nebraska, a Cornhusker fan that is building elevators, actually, in Indianapolis and listens to the station throughout the course of the day. And he and I talked plenty of college football yesterday while watching also the Pacer game and then into the NFL game. But let's begin with the Pacers last night. It almost feels like now we are entering into, and maybe we've already entered into the category of, and I hate saying it this way because I'm not trying to sell the Pacers short. And the Colts, there's an interesting dynamic in terms of I think it's the newness factor. Let me explain what I'm talking about. I'm pulling in last night to Night Owls, and my phone rings. And it's a listener that wants to talk about the Colts and break down and decipher and go over what the future should be for Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen if the slide continues and the Colts find themselves on the outside looking in for the postseason. And there's still football to be played with that, so we just don't know, when is the time to begin evaluating that. It is my belief that as of right now, Ballard and Steichen are safe, and I think they should be. And that's not me carrying anybody's water. I've been pretty critical of Chris Ballard at times. And Shane Steichen, it's not that I think Shane Steichen is Bill Walsh 2.0. It's not that I think Shane Steichen is Bill Belichick 2.0. I think he's a good coach, and I think he has learned. I think he's a significantly better coach than he was when he first got the job. So you can see improvement. You can see steps along the way of, him growing into being, especially offensively, a pretty good coach. Now, with that, yes, there is a slide. And they are in real trouble here, and one would assume they may not make the playoffs. And when you look at Chris Ballard's track record, then you have a couple of ways to look at this. And it compares a little bit to the Pacers. The Pacers last night have a game that, to a large extent, did what people want it to do. I know it sounds crazy to say. I think there are Pacer fans that are like, you know what, at this point, 6-21, go in, be competitive, play hard, have a fun game, be fun, and don't back your way out of that lottery potential. And it's this accepted fate and this new normal that the Pacers aren't going to win games, and people seem to be okay with that because of the fact of two things. Number one, you've had plenty of time to absorb and process the disappointment of the injury that is setting them back. And number two, the injuries are what's setting them back. And so as a result of that, it feels like there's this built-in excuse that softens the blow of what it is that's happening. Because each and every time you see a score or a disappointment or a loss, you say to yourself, yeah, but I mean, they don't have Halliburton, they don't have Toppin, they don't have Nesmith. Those guys are so important to what they do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The Colts have essentially the same excuse to go by. Man, the Colts have lost, 5 of 6, and they've lost 4 straight or whatever it is, and they just keep snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. Sure, but you could say, yeah, but they don't have DeForest Buckner. They don't have Daniel Jones, pretty significant, right? They don't have Braden Smith. They don't have Sauce Gardner. They haven't had Charvarius Ward. The injuries are a part of it. Except for, number one, we are still in the midst of that. And so that reality, that cushion hasn't necessarily completely set in just yet. That's number one. And number two, In the NFL, there is the thought process that injuries are such a part of that game and such a part of that design that they have to be prepared for that. But as I'm driving in and I get a phone call from a listener and I'm pulling into Night Owls and they're asking me, what's going to happen with Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen? And I'm saying, I don't think anything's going to happen. And before I can explain why, the caller, understandably so, is like overzealously like cutting me off to state the case of why they think Chris Ballard should be relieved of his duties if the Colts don't make the playoffs. And he's comparing it with the Pacers situation. And I said, this is what's interesting, though, because you could make a very compelling case for Chris Ballard on either side. If this was a high school debate class and you were given the assignment to debate why Chris Ballard should be terminated as the leader of the Colts and it's time for a fresh change, a fresh mind, a fresh voice, then you would have plenty by which to go by. The number of seasons, the feeling of being stuck in the mud, the vat of suck, as I call it, just being trapped right there. It's like those, you remember those little finger games you would get? They were paper. They were called like finger handcuffs when I was a kid. You put your two fingers in both sides of that like slinky looking piece of paper, and then it like locks them and you can't get them out. The Colts have been stuck like in that middle area of that little tube where you just you're stuck in the middle. You can't get one way or the other. You're just stuck in that vat. That's the problem in the NFL with getting stuck in that drafting 17th all the time. But when you look at the situation with Chris Ballard, you could say, but when they were healthy, we were all jumping up and down through 8 weeks talking about the way this roster had been built, the balance of it, and how it might be as good a roster as anybody in the NFL until the injuries. But every team has injuries. But until the injuries. And so you could look at it and you could make the case that the Colts are stuck in the mud with no sign of getting out of that because their quarterback situation is FUBAR, and their draft situation is less than desirable. However, their best course of action is to franchise tag Daniel Jones, bring him back, see what you have in terms of the time that he comes back and the quality by which he comes back, and roll with that. And there is a very good chance that if everything goes as planned with that you have indeed a really good roster around him, and now you're right back to where you were. And you pick up where you left off when you were 7-1 and you were optimistic, and the only thing hurting you is that you don't have another first-round weapon to add to the mix because you traded those two because you got aggressive in your plan. And yes, I am one person who you will not find audio of me at that time saying this is a huge move that puts the Colts over the top. I thought it was too much to spend for a corner as good as he is. But then you look at the Pacers side of things, and when the Pacers got in this situation where they went from literally the penthouse to the outhouse, there's this feeling and this comfort level amongst the fan base here that of understanding and of patience with it. And why is that? The reason why is because the precedent beforehand showed that the Pacers front office had aggressive game planning and vision that paid itself off. And so therefore, they have earned the benefit of the doubt that they will be able to right the ship. And the Colts front office has earned the skepticism of people that they can get out of that middle ground. And that's the difference between the way that we approach and envision the path for these two franchises. And that's not to say that there's like pitchforks going up and down Meridian Street about the Colts. I just think that there is a much higher level of just kind of an exasperated acceptance of reality with the Colts. And part of that also is because we are in the middle of it right now. And for the Pacers, when the injury happened, you had like 3 months to sit there and think about woulda, coulda, shoulda, but then turn the page and say, okay, I just have to accept that this year is going to be different. Now, next season, if things don't go well for the Pacers, then there's going to be a lot of discussion and a lot of what in the world, and was that anomaly, and was that lightning in the bottle? But last night in Pacers and Knicks, Eddie Garrison was running the board for the Pacers radio network.
Yes.
The bottom line, it was basically Pacers-Knicks of a year ago, with the exception of the fact that this time the heroic point guard saving came, or guard play saving came from Jalen Brunson, who is a fabulous player. It was not a bad performance for the Pacers, but it was a bad final closing of the Pacers.
Yeah, it certainly was. I mean, they just struggled offensively in that fourth quarter. Like, it just seems, Jake, like they have these different, lapses in games offensively. And it's almost like IU basketball during the Mike Woodson era. You didn't exactly know when it was going to happen, but you know it's going to happen at some point in the course of the game. And earlier in the season, it always felt like, it was that third quarter coming out of halftime. Then it kind of moved to the second quarter. And now in like the last week or so, the fourth quarter has been the biggest bugaboo for the Pacers with closing out games. And at this point, it's got to be incredibly frustrating if you're Rick Carlisle, because you're just trying to find the right combination almost every single night to close out a game. And you may think you have the right combo for 3 quarters going into that final quarter. The next thing you know, things just kind of taper off. And, he's still looking for win number 1,000, is stuck on at 999 now for 4 consecutive games.
I think I do think, I don't know, but I think they have a couple of things planned for Rick Carlisle to help celebrate the 1,000th win, but they've been waiting for a while, right?
Well, I would hope they would have something planned.
They've been, probably some video tributes, I think, but they've been waiting for a while.
You think they have a cake? A big 1,000 cake?
Yeah, you'd have to, right?
And if
we're having cake tonight for my parents' 61st wedding anniversary, orange fluff from Taylor's up on the north side.
And
I would think 1,000 wins, that trumps 61. 1,000 wins trumps 61 years, right?
And here's the other thing: if there's a cake, does that mean they've had to have a cake the last 4 games? And if so, what have they done with each of those cakes or the cake?
It's like the it's like the cake that Elaine ate out of Mr. Peterman's refrigerator, right?
Who?
Do you have any idea what happens to the interbowels of one when they are eating a butter crust that's been sitting there waiting for that long?
I don't get the reference.
Well, believe you me, I think you'll find out soon enough. Dismissed. 15% of the audience gets the reference, but they appreciate it. But yes, good point on Carlisle sitting on 999. Last night, Jalen Brunson is, and it's not just against the Pacers that he is that player, right? He is a bulldog type player. I thought they got really good minutes. It goes without saying with that kind of a scoring effort. And again, I was manning and overseeing and helping out with and
Peyton
registering.
or Eli or Archie.
What's that?
Peyton, Eli, or Archie, or Cooper.
Cooper, yeah, the athletic one that fell short. But I was manning the mini hoops tournament with Mick Ultra and Zink out at Night Owl. So I was kind of watching the game in the periphery of my eye, right? And then had to go back and look over things. And Andrew Nemhard obviously had a big game. Quentin Jackson's a guy that we kind of forget about because he has not been as available. But when his number has been called upon, Eddie,
he's a baller.
He's given them good minutes, right?
He's another one of those Energizer bunnies. He brings a lot of energy with, the speed that he plays with and picking up full court and just the relentless defense and being able to help, the offense get out into the transition and play that quick brand of basketball that we have seen them play the last couple of years.
The other thing that goes on with the Pacers, I saw multiple stories last night, and it is no surprise. It appears as though there are national outlets that have been listening to this program. Because once again, nothing new here, nothing original. Once again, multiple stories out there about the Pacers and trying to shop or being open to shop Benedict Mathurin.
I've also seen some Jarris Walker stuff as well.
I would think Walker as well, because those are two players. But let's begin with Matherin, okay? Matherin is going to be rumored and listed on the regular because of the fact that they did not offer him an extension at the beginning of the year and were potentially allowing him to go into free agency at the completion of this season. And with Benedict Matherin, the thing about him that is so intriguing, both for the Pacers and for other franchises, Benedict Matherin is an isolation type scorer. Benedict Matherin, he's an isolation guy in general. It's not a knock on him, but his personality is such that he's just more kind of independent. I think he's liked. I don't think he's a sour apple. I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't think he's selfish. I'm not saying any of that. But his MO is that he is a guy that is just kind of like in the corner of the sandbox. And offensively speaking, that's how he plays. The Pacers' offense, when it is clicking and has all cylinders, is one that obviously works with all 5 cylinders clicking at the same time and working in unison of one another. And Matherin has been a huge asset in the offset of that. Not within it per se, but if you look, for example, when they were playing Oklahoma City, he won them a game in the NBA Finals. He won them a game. And I think it was game 3, if I'm not mistaken. But he turned around then in game 4 and had kind of that meltdown where he had 2 off-ball fouls and missed the free throws and just was out of sync and out of rhythm. But when Benedict Matherin is thriving offensively, more often than not, it's because the rest of the offense is not, and he is picking up that slack. And he has that capability, without question. However, because he is entering into the final year, because he is a volume rhythm scorer, in other words, he has nights where he has 9 points or 29. It feels like there's very few in between. And I know somebody can look at it and go, dude, he averages 18 or 19. That's right in between. I get it. But you get what I'm saying. I still believe, I am 100% convinced of this. The Pacers know that they need 2 pieces. They need 2 pieces for next year. Once Halliburton comes back, assuming and hoping that Halliburton comes back close to the level that he was, and you still have Siakam, and you have Nesmith, and you have Toppin, and everyone's healthy a year from now. In that situation, the Indiana Pacers need 2 pieces. They need the replacement for Miles Turner, and by that I mean an active, physical, under-the-basket big that can rim protect and then facilitate by running the floor and either trail and hit a 3 or then get on the inside on the block and facilitate things offensively. And that's a very small list of players that can do that. But that, and Jay Huff has shown the ability to do that in small increments, but not with regularity at the start of games over the course of a game the way Turner did. But that's option number 1 of what you need. The other thing you need is a young wing defender, like a Nesmith, but with a little more length and probably a little bit more mid-range type play. Truth be told, like a slightly more fleet Benedict Matherin that can play at the pace offensively with what they need. I am convinced that the Pacers' mindset is that Benedict Matherin, because he does have value within the league, that Benedict Matherin will be the trade piece that turns into and parlays them for the Miles Turner replacement. Whether that be Kessler in Utah or somebody else, I don't know, but that's where they're going to get that piece, or at least try, is using Mathurin in that area. The second player that I talked about, the wing defender, that player will be attained for them or obtained for them via their first-round pick, which in a stroke of brilliance, they got back last year during the NBA Finals in a trade that was very silent because you assumed it was going to be the 29th overall pick. And now that pick is probably going to be a lottery pick and, quite frankly, could be a top 5 or 6 pick in an extremely deep wing draft. And that player that you get, a wing player, is not one that you are looking at saying that has to be a starter for us. No, that's going to be a 12 to 20-minute complementary piece that you grow with and then make that transition. When you went from the Reggie Davis's, Rick Smith's teams into the Jermaine O'Neal, Ron Artest, Al Harrington teams, you had Harrington already drafted. You had Jermaine that you traded for as a young player. But those guys were there, and they were slowly being brought into the mix before then they became the faces of the franchise. And that's what their lottery pick is going to be. So it just feels like there is more definitive roadmap for the Pacers than the Colts. Part of that, too, is it's a lot easier to manage it when you got 8 or 9 guys as opposed to 50 plus. I get it. And your most important piece from the standpoint of the Colts is coming off the same injury of the most important piece of the Pacers, the difference being the one that's with the Pacers is already locked in under contract. There's a lot to get to. One thing happened last night that I thought to myself right there, this is the best of the best, as good as it gets. And it happened last night. It happened late. But I want to go over it because it was one of those things that you just kind of felt like everybody else was right there with you. I'll explain what I'm talking about. And big show lined up today. Zach Osterman going to join us coming up 1 o'clock. We'll talk about Indiana football, notably getting ready for the college football playoffs, basketball side of it as well. Rob Blackman going to join us, the voice of the Purdue Boilermakers, coming up at 1:30. Purdue and Auburn getting set to battle tomorrow. That's going to be a 6:30 tip. Kevin Bowen at 2 o'clock today. Good for the Heart, Feel Good Friday coming up at the bottom of the 2 o'clock hour. A lot to get to, a lot to unpack. When we come back, something that happened last night where you just felt like this sense of community. And I'm not talking about the darts and the mini hoop at Night Owls, but rather just simply watching something that was pretty awesome. We'll talk about it next.
Welcome to Wawa. We're open 24/7, so when the sun goes down but everyone's still up, Wawa has your late night fuel. Headed to a hangout? Stop in for snacks and sodas. Binge your favorite shows with burgers and hoagies. Gather around the table with garlic knots and a cheesy Wawa pizza. Or just chill on the couch with fries and whatever milkshake sounds good. Your night just got a whole lot tastier. Freshly made burgers, pizza, and so much more. When you got a late night craving, you got a Wawa. Price and participation may vary by store.
Hey, Colts fans, Crown Royal is a proud partner of the Indianapolis Colts, and this season it's not game day without the generous spirit of Crown Royal. Whether you're at the tailgate, in the stands, or watching from home, Crown Royal is the reason and the reward for coming together. Grab a glass with the Crown Royal rig at a stadium near you, because we'll be sharing the generous spirit with fans across the country. Crown Royal, fueling game day with a generous spirit. Visit www.crownroyal.com/Royal Rig for more on the Crown Royal Rig Tour. Please drink responsibly.
I'm Dwight Freeney, and my friend Eli is alive today thanks to someone who said yes to organ donation. When Eli was just 12 years old, he received a liver transplant that saved his life because someone just like you said yes to being an organ donor. His story and many others like his are why I have teamed up with Indiana Donor Network and Donate Life Indiana to help end the wait for life-saving organs. You can help. Say yes to being an organ donor next time you are at the BMV.
Hey, Sweet Joe for your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, Jim's Heating and Air Conditioning. Owner Jim Scott is based in Clinton County, but they're now serving a larger area.
Boone County and Hamilton County, there are just not enough HVAC contractors in those areas to handle the demand. So we can offer a value for them because of our 5-star rating, family owned, quality.
On the north side, just go to jimsheating-air.com for Jim's Heating and Air Conditioning, your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
With Wawa's rewards program, you can rack up points on the items you buy every day, even fuel. Boost your totals with a breakfast sizzling. Score points with your morning coffee. With Wawa rewards, points put the power in your hands. You can choose to redeem them for what you love most, like an iced latte for an extra pick-me-up or your lunchtime hoagie. Download the Wawa app today. When you gotta get rewarded, you gotta Wawa. Fuel rewards not available in New Jersey or were legally prohibited. See full details at wawarewards.com. Price of participation may vary by store.
Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash.
It's me, Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash. I see those dry elbows, baby. But don't worry, get moisturized right in the shower. So hydrated you can skip the lotion after.
Don't wanna see it dry no more. Skin so moisturized with body wash.
Look at you now, no more dry skin. Your skin gets the moisture it craves with
Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash.
This time of year, it's about to snack in, and you want to do some elite-level snacking, right? Whether you're watching football, maybe it's a little bit of hoop, but seriously, on a cracker, a chip, a vegetable? How about a burger? The spreadability of Win Schuler's and their fantastic cheese spreads from original cheddar, sharp cheddar, bacon and cheddar, and jalapeno pepper. The spreadability of Win Schuler's, you can find it. Win Schuler's, Gordon's Food Service, and your favorite Meijer location across the state of Indiana.
Your favorite song shouldn't have to wait for Wi-Fi. Switch to Straight Talk and get real unlimited data on Verizon's 5G network. Straight Talk, available at straighttalk.com or Walmart.
The Ride with JMV.
I'm not going to sit here and bag on Phillip Rivers all day, but the problem remains at that position, you have to be a threat downfield. You had 2 plays, over 15 yards. He did not completely cost you the game, but he was unfortunately costly in a different manner because he does not allow you to do what needs to be done.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 to 6
on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan. On 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
One of the things that's fun about sport, and in particular this time of year, because I've always appreciated that you, and I know that, and I hope this is true for everybody. You know, we all have our different family traditions. We all have different things that we do to enjoy the holidays and enjoy family time, whether it be Thanksgiving or Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, whatever it is that you might celebrate. I mean, you know, this time of year there are so many, the confluence of so many different traditions. And one of the things that makes those things special is, you know, that other homes, other houses, other people are doing the same with their people. And you certainly hope that all people are able to enjoy that. And every once in a while, especially on a gloomy, kind of snowy, wintry Thursday night, something takes place where you feel like you can just get the feeling that you're part of this big gathering. The Daytona 500, when NASCAR and the Daytona 500 really took off, or took off is maybe even the wrong word, but first got introduced to the mainstream, was in I think it was 78, when you had the big fight at the Daytona 500, and it just so happened that there was an ice storm and a blizzard throughout the vast majority of the Northeast. And so all of these people that normally never watched NASCAR, everyone was sitting on their couch watching TV because there was nowhere to go. And, back then you had like 4 channels. But everybody was watching the same thing. And social media has a big part of this too, when something's going on, and so therefore you're locked into, whatever social media channel that you use, and you can tell that, everybody's commenting on the same thing. And that was the case last night with what I think was the best game of the season in the National Football League. And it bodes well, truthfully, for the Colts. Because as I was watching that game last night, and I got the impression that I haven't seen the television numbers, and I know it's on Prime and not on, so they're going to be lower because fewer people have the streaming service even in 2025 than they do if it was on just regular ESPN or whatever else. But that's got to be one of the highest drawn, especially late in the game, tune-in numbers for Amazon Prime so far since they began doing the games. But as I'm sitting there watching it, I'm thinking to myself, okay, one of these teams, I believe, is probably the favorite and the best team in the NFL. Now, Eddie, who would you say right now is the best team in the National Football League if you had to pick one?
Either one of those teams that we saw last night.
Probably, right?
Yeah.
And Matt Stafford and, with what he's got going with certainly just the receiving game in general, and with Puka Nacua and the way that, just their timing. And Nacua last night was incredible, right? And I know he's had a rough week, but he was incredible on the field. And Stafford just has this locked in, this dude is totally in control feel about him that is very hard to dismiss.
It's like whenever you watch Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow get into these zones, like the quote-unquote flow state, as Aaron Neesmith coined it now, they're just impossible to stop.
I totally agree.
And he's been like that pretty much all season.
And so when you assess the Rams, what you have to then keep in mind is, and yes, woulda, coulda, shoulda, and if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'll all have a Merry Christmas. I get it. However, that's a team in the Rams that the Colts should have beaten. Different time of year. I get it, right? And Seattle, you can't even necessarily weigh it in, and I don't even know offensively that Seattle was doing, showing their full game plan against the Colts. I don't know because it wasn't to the level of last night. But what Seattle does do is show kind of a blueprint for what the Colts ultimately can hope for with a healthy Daniel Jones. And that being Sam Darnold last night, I thought showed something. And I do think that there are always quarterbacks that they have a game or a moment, and you get bought in and you get fooled by it. The New Orleans Saints got fooled by Aaron Brooks. He caught lightning in a bottle for 3 games and boom, let's give you a ton of money. The Buffalo Bills got fooled by Rob Johnson. The Detroit Lions got fooled by Scott Mitchell. The Miami Dolphins probably got fooled by Tua, right? It's all over the place. And Sam Darnold has had his moments where he's kind of fooled you, and then also you're like, no, we know who you are now. But I thought last night, in key moments repeatedly, and he did have some costly turnovers, but when they needed it most, not once but twice, Darnold was exceptional, and he was locked in as well. And as good as Stafford was, Darnold was as well. And I think that's good news for the Colts. Again, I'm going by assuming Daniel Jones comes back from the injury and is healthy, okay? But if Daniel Jones comes back from the injury and is healthy, then I think that's a blueprint that you can look at, because Darnold is a guy that had his question marks, had his inconsistencies, but showed enough flash at different stops along the way that you felt like if he had a good roster around him, had some weapons, that he now has the maturity and the moxie to put the ghosts of Christmas past behind him and play forward. And I thought last night he showed that, and that's good news for the Colts, because that's the blueprint of what you want out of a Daniel Jones. Now, did you get a chance to watch much of that game, Eddie, or were you still doing the Pacers postgame stuff?
Once the Pacers game ended, I flipped it over to that game, so I was able to watch most of the second half.
I have no real I shouldn't say that. I've always kind of liked the Seahawks. I think I've let that be known. And we were,
by the way, what did you think of the Seahawks uniforms? I thought those are right there with the ones that you love the most.
No.
What?
No. No.
You're a lunatic.
No. I get it. Okay. They were a little too. Okay. First off, let me back up here. Okay. I'm not a fan of green.
That's their color.
Hold on. I like the lime green, the like highlighter lime green they use as an accentuation to the royal blue and silver that are their two primaries. I like it there. I don't like the dark green, the almost forest green as the primary, as it changes under the lights. To quote Hall & Oates, no can do. Not terrible, but trying a little too hard. They're like the Zuba pants of uniforms. But last Saturday, Shannon and I go out to dinner, and I see this couple walk in, and the dude's wearing a Seattle Seahawks, the old school Seahawks logo, the old school Seahawks. He's wearing the snow hat, and I actually have one of these with the Seahawk on it. And I'm like, holy cow. So I say to him, hey, I got to tell you, I have actually that exact same hat. I wear it once a year. I'm a tradition-laden guy, right? I'm regimented. And so we start talking, and I said, so this guy is from Seattle, now lives in Champaign, and he and his wife come to Indianapolis each year in the Christmas time to Christmas shop and go to dinner and whatever else, just a weekend getaway. And I said, oh my gosh, we're getting ready to do the exact same thing tomorrow to Milwaukee, right? So he and I started talking about just the NFL in general, exchange numbers, and I was texting with him last night during the game about the Seahawks and the Rams game because that felt like the two upper echelon teams, and it was, and I could see it because he's a huge Seahawks fan, Eddie, the roller coaster of emotion in that game. It was just back and forth. And then you had the crazy 2-point conversion. You saw that, right?
Yes. Very interesting on how that played out.
So the 2-point conversion, for those that did not see it, it was what looked to be basically a dead play because Darnold throws what looks to be an incomplete pass, but it was a backward pass, which means it's a live ball. And it gets kicked around, and then Seattle just kind of, without thinking about it, picks it up, and it's like, oh, wait a minute. That's now good because you're in the end zone, and boom, 2-point conversion. And that turned out to be a difference in the game. But it was a game of great ebb and flow. It was an unbelievable game. But it was the best game, and I believe it was the best game of the year in the National Football League. And on a weekend where we have other sports going on, but most of it is Saturday loaded. For example, college basketball, Indiana playing on Saturday. Butler, college basketball playing on Saturday. Purdue playing on Saturday. Pacers playing Saturday and Monday. So you have all these NFL games on a Sunday, the Colts playing on a Monday night. And guess what this weekend is? It's a theme weekend at Query & Company. It's a theme weekend for the NFL and music to go with it. We will explain our new musical theme when it comes to the NFL schedule next.
This is Jim with Jim's Heating and Air Conditioning. If you need help in Boone County or Hamilton County, give us a call.
Just go to jimsheating-air.com. Jim's Heating and Air Conditioning is your trusted local independent American Standard air dealer.
Hellsberg gifts checked off the list. Now, time for wrapping. Earrings for Mom. A gold bracelet to match the rings Danielle wears every day. And for Dad, a new watch, because we all know he needs one. All right, this is going to be a good one.
Our favorite things for your favorite people. Shop in store at Hellsberg.com for up to 50% off.
No matter where you're headed, it's nice to know Hubler's got you covered for 200,000 miles. Visit drivehubler.com or any of the 13 Hubler locations.
Hey, there's Jake Query for Surfside, which is sunshine in a can. Look for the can with the sunset stripes. Surfside, fabulous. Absolutely fabulous, because with no carbonation, it is so smooth and easy to enjoy. This time of year, watching holiday movies, watching ball games, whatever it might be, Surfside is perfect. You might be thinking about that time on the beach. Surfside, it's going to take you right there. Just 100 calories, 2 grams of sugar, and again, no carbonation, so smooth. Iced tea with a splash of vodka in a can, or lemonade with a splash of vodka in a can. Look for Surfside wherever you buy your favorite adult beverages. Surfside, please be 21 and please enjoy responsibly.
The Fan cares, and if you or someone you care about needs food assistance, we have resources for you, including food distribution locations with an interactive map. Also, learn how you can make a difference for friends and neighbors in need, all at 1075thefan.com.
Hi, I'm Lexi, your friend and jeweler at Shane Company. We'll help you find last-minute gifts that don't look last-minute, even if you're still planning to propose. At Shane Company, we'll show you perfect gifts at perfect prices, in stock and ready to give. Like hand-matched diamond studs, 14-karat gold chains, or the ultimate gift, a beautiful engagement ring. We have longer store hours, so you can skip the crowds and shop when you want, or visit us at shaneco.com. Because a friend wants you to be a holiday hero. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Without an Advent clinic nearby, people suffering needlessly from chronic nasal congestion and sinus infections would be stuck with either Band-Aid or sledgehammer solutions. Band-Aids are pills or nasal sprays, and they're not true solutions. Surgery is a sledgehammer, and that's what we're trying to avoid. Because most people don't need surgery for nose and sinus issues, nor do they want a 14-day recovery. Our unique Advent approach can, in 20 minutes in our office, open your blocked nose for good, with only 1-day recovery. I'm Advent founder Dr. Kandula. Outside of Advent's four walls, invasive surgery is what they'll recommend. But here you will find effective and convenient in-office solutions to help you stop the need for Band-Aids and avoid the sledgehammer.
Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better. Most insurance accepted.
So what's in the bag today? Yesterday's leftovers? Another lunch meat sandwich? Well, go ahead and pull up a rock and settle in for a half hour of I wish I was eating something else. Or you could be eating something else, or someplace else. If you're brown bagging it at the corner of 30th and Shadeland area, drop over to His Place Eatery for 30 minutes of why didn't I know about this place sooner? Nothing fancy. Not a lot of frills. They save that for the quality of the meal. Like ribs that fall off the bone, southern fried chicken, sides that will cause your taste buds to thank you into tomorrow. Put that in your brown bag and eat it. Better yet, bank the bag. Go to His Place Eatery at the corner of 30th and Shadeland, or the newest location off 86th and Ditch Road. Your dirty boots and work clothes are welcome here. His Place, your place for lunch. Go to hisplaceeatery.com to learn more.
Career changers, including veterans and active duty service members. Your transition starts here. Go from GI to IT in a matter of months. Become a certified cyber warrior with training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, offering IT pros great opportunities and a rewarding lifestyle while protecting our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. Deploy your career in IT today at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP, an elite CompTIA certification partner.
VA education benefits are available to those who qualify.
Celebrate Christmas with an NBA doubleheader. The coverage begins at 11:30 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Okay, so somewhere there is a group of guys that are breaking rocks in the hot sun, right? They're in the, I don't know if it's hot sun right now in Pocatello, but they're in the Pocatello Penitentiary, and they've been breaking rocks in the hot sun because they fought the law and the law won, and now they're sitting there, and the warden comes and says, I got good news for you. I got good news for you. Fellas, you've been breaking rocks in the hot sun, and therefore we're going to reward you. No. We're not going to give you a bottle of suds like we once did for those that got to retar the top of the plating factory. No, we're going to let you watch an NFL game this Sunday. Now, we do this a lot, Eddie, where you say, okay, so if you were the one television inside of the penitentiary where everybody's allowed to watch a game like you had as the community television in your dorm room floor in college, what's the game that they would say, yeah, I mean, technically we're letting these guys watch the NFL, but we're going to give them the worst possible game because we can't be too kind. Okay, now, it is my belief, and this happens a lot this time of year because you start getting into, and this is why fantasy football this time of year becomes so challenging. guys are getting benched, guys are rested, etc. I think last night we might have seen the only, maybe there are two, the only non-Pocatello Penitentiary games on the schedule. Now, Eddie, let me read off for you the schedule, and I want you to tell me, okay, if you consider it a Pocatello Penitentiary level game, then you give me like 2 seconds worth of the song, okay?
I can do that, or I can give you a ding or an
Okay,
or a
we'll
buzzer.
do the ding, and then at the end, you can play the song when you declare the one that you determine to be the biggest breaking rocks in the hot sun game, okay? We will begin with Philadelphia at the, I forget who's quarterbacking them this week, Washington Commanders.
Marcus Mariota.
Okay.
Is quarterbacking the Commanders.
Not a terrible game, right?
Nope.
Okay. Green Bay at Chicago. That's obviously a very good game, right?
That's probably the best game left on the schedule.
There are two. That's one of them. Now, let me read you the rest here. Buffalo at Cleveland. Buffalo at Cleveland. It's going to be a mud soup, ice-covered. Are we going to see what Shadur Sanders is? It's a 10.5-point spread. I mean, that's a Pocatello game, is it not?
Maybe. I don't know. But with Buffalo, I don't know if it's a Pocatello game or not.
The Chargers at Dallas.
Not a Pocatello game.
The Chiefs with Gardner Minshew going in and taking on the Titans of Tennessee.
That's a candidate.
It's a candidate, okay? Cincinnati and whoever is quarterbacking the Dolphins in Miami.
Quinn Ewers.
Okay. And does that give it enough intrigue?
Well, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins.
Okay. You know what? So are they going to play themselves into a fall? You know,
they're trying to win. That's what Zach Taylor said.
Okay. Well, brace yourself here. The New York Jets at New Orleans.
There's your winner. There is your winner.
Hold on. We're not done yet. We're not done yet, though. Okay?
Oh, we're done. We don't need to keep
No,
going.
here we go. Minnesota at the New York Giants. I mean, what we're seeing if J.J. McCarthy can like put together some sort of streak and outdo Jackson Dart, okay? Tampa Bay at Carolina. That's actually sneaky decent because there are some implications in that game, right?
Battle for first.
Here's a sneaky good game. Jacksonville at Denver.
Yep.
That's got implication possibly for the Colts as well. If Jacksonville wins that game, Katie barred the door for the Colts. They're in some trouble there. They already are, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, Atlanta at Arizona.
Another candidate.
Who's quarterbacking for either one of those teams?
You got Jacoby Brissett and Kirk Cousins.
And Cousins actually has played halfway decent. Pittsburgh at Detroit. Not terrible, right? I guess Pittsburgh mathematically. Okay, how about this one? The Raiders at Houston. You're not dinging any of these as potential Pocatello Penitentiary games?
Yeah. I mean, that's a potential, yeah.
Yeah, okay. New England and Baltimore's decent.
Yep.
And then, truthfully, San Francisco at Indianapolis. Is anybody outside of San Francisco or Indianapolis excited about that? For that matter, is anybody in Indianapolis or San Francisco excited about that?
Hey, you saw the numbers last week for the Rivers game?
People were fascinated to see what Phillip Rivers could do, right?
Now, Jake, I think the clear and obvious answer here is the Jets and the Saints.
So it used to be that they would play when the Saints come marching in, when New Orleans would take to the field. But when they're playing at formerly the Mercedes-Benz Louisiana Superdome, I don't know who it's sponsored by now, against the New York Jets, and we're not even sure who's quarterbacking the Jets, the music that will play when they come out on the field will be this. Eddie? You still there?
No, I'm not here.
There we go. Because those two teams are as on point for this game as Eddie is when it comes to firing up the music, right?
Thank you. Do you even know who the quarterback is for the Jets?
It is not Justin Fields, correct?
Nope.
Should I know this?
No. It's not Tyrod Taylor.
Give
or
me
Tyrod Taylor.
Give me the college.
Missouri.
Oh, boy. Okay, is it a veteran?
No.
I was going to say, so it's not Chase Daniel.
Rookie. Chase Daniel is no longer in the NFL.
I know, but Chase Daniel was in the league like 15 years, and like the last 12 of them, everyone assumed he was out of the league. I am throwing in the towel on this.
Brady Cook.
Okay. Brady Cook taking on who's quarterbacking New Orleans this week?
Tyler Shuck.
Oh, shucks. Okay. Don't you shuck things in New Orleans? If you get like crawfish, aren't you supposed to shuck them?
I have no idea. I don't eat crawfish.
You shuck them and then you cook them. What do you know?
I've never been
This
to New
literally
Orleans.
is the Etouffee Bowl. Call it the Etouffee Bowl. Shuck and cook. There's a restaurant right there off Bourbon Street, right? Shuck and cook. Get yourself a hurricane. Drink that bad boy. Get yourself some crawfish. Shuck and cook those things till the cows come home. We come back. Zach Osterman going to join us. Indiana getting set. College football playoff. It's going to be here faster than you know. And I have a tip for those of you going to the Rose Bowl. We'll get into it all next.
The Ride with JMV.
The one criticism that you have about, well, you didn't prepare. Nobody was talking about wanting to prepare with the backup quarterback earlier this year. And I know some of you are going to say, well, I mean, Daniel Jones does have a history with the Giants of an injury. Maybe you should have had somebody else on the ready. Well, I mean, they did have somebody else on the ready until he about popped his eyeball out trying to stretch before a game, and now he's no longer on the ready.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 to 6.
On 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
The Butler basketball season is rolling along. Don't miss your chance to get in on the action. Your next chance to get to Hinkle Fieldhouse to cheer on your Butler Bulldogs is Monday, December 22nd, when the Dogs take on NJIT at 2 p.m. A weekday matinee. Come see the sunlight shine through the windows at iconic Hinkle Fieldhouse. With most students home for break, there are some great, unique seating options, so buy your tickets now at butlersports.com/buy tickets. Be a part of Hinkle Magic and make Hinkle your second home this season.
Xfinity is the network you can rely on. Like a close friend who will give it to you straight. The friend who will tell you that new haircut, it's not great. Friends make sure friends get good haircuts. And Xfinity makes sure you get a good deal on Wi-Fi. Xfinity gives you reliable fiber-powered Wi-Fi at our best price. This holiday season through January 4th, get gig speed Wi-Fi for just $50 a month for 5 whole years. No strings, no commitments. Just super fast, reliable gig speed Wi-Fi with our best equipment and unlimited data included. Save yourself from questionable decisions and save over Verizon and AT&T. Xfinity, imagine that. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto-pay with stored bank account. Taxes and fees extra. Xfinity Internet powered by fiber and connected to premises by coaxial cable. Actual speeds vary.
It's JMV for BullseyeEventGroup.com. The Colts VIP tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. All you can eat, all you can drink. Before each Colts home game, make your game day experience the best it can be. Entertained inside the Bullseye Event Center and the great food from celebrity chef Kelsey Murphy. That and more, and combo up your passes with tickets to the game. That's the BullseyeEventGroup.com Colts VIP tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. Get your passes now. BullseyeEventGroup.com.
Actual price will depend on product and subscription plan. Featured products are compounded drug products, which the FDA does not approve or verify for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. See website for details, restrictions, and important safety information.
Want a boost in and out of the bedroom? Hims has you covered. Introducing a new 2-in-1 approach to level up your game. Tadalafil for better bedroom performance and zinc for testosterone support. Put it all together and you've got what you need to turn things all the way up. Getting started is simple. Just go to hims.com/joy to start your free online visit. Through Hims, you can access ED treatments including pills, chews, and more. 100% online. No office visits, no pharmacy lines. Just fill out a simple intake form and a licensed medical provider will determine if treatment's right for you. If prescribed, it ships free and discreetly to your door. Find affordable treatment options at up to 95% less than brand names at hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy, HIMS.com/JOY.
Don't stress about plumbing repairs. Call LD Smith for honest advice and a free second opinion on any estimate.
LD Smith Plumbing.
A dirty, stinking honest.
Do you need furnace or heat pump service and need to find a local, well-trained expert you can trust like Family Heating and Air Conditioning? We'll find that American Standard air dealer at IndyHomeComfort.com.
DriveHubler.com. From the DriveHubler.com studios, this is 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
WIBC HD2, W298BP, WIBC HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis. The Colts take on the San Francisco 49ers on Monday Night Football. The coverage begins at 4:30 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan and 97.1 Hank FM.
This is Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
So, yes, in fact, the Saints and the Jets, we've determined. It's a weird week in the league because you just look around and you're like, man, who's starting at quarterback here? Who's starting there? You just kind of don't know. Now, the college football landscape, obviously everything getting underway in the first round of games for the college football playoffs, and it is still surreal. It is still with hesitation, even though at this point, if you are sleeping on Indiana, at this point, if you are ruling out Indiana, why not Indiana?
Are you going to be out and about tonight, Jake?
I am probably.
Well, if you're out late at night, you can tune into this radio station and catch the game of the potential winner who IU will face next week.
That will determine it all, right? Alabama and Oklahoma.
Yep.
With the winner going to the Rose Bowl. Now, if you are going to the Rose Bowl to watch Indiana, the one bit of advice I can give you, the only bit of advice I can give you, is the fact that, and my understanding is Indiana fans that bought tickets through Indiana, you didn't really get to pick where your seat was. You just kind of picked a section. And we can ask Zach Osterman from the Indianapolis Star, who's joining us now on the Java House Peel and Pour guest line, whether or not he has experienced this. He joins us now in the program. Zach.
Osterman.
Thank you, Eddie. Zach, you have or have not been to the Rose Bowl?
I've never been to the Rose Bowl. I didn't make the trip last year when Indiana played UCLA.
Okay, because the one thing that I went this year for the first time. I mean, I've been outside the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, but going in as a spectator at an event there, the one thing that I will tell Indiana fans, if you have a chance, and by now you probably wouldn't, but if you're buying on the secondary market, try to buy tickets as close to the end of the aisle as possible, because the sections are literally like 55 rows or seats across. And if you're sitting in, say, 27 and 28, it is like an airplane. It is the tightest, outside of the parking lot that we have here, it's the tightest stadium I've ever seen, in the fact that it's, 90,000 seats or whatever it may be, and it should be like 65,000. You know what I mean? But a fabulous venue, and Indiana going to be there. Question would be this: the better matchup for Indiana, Alabama or Oklahoma?
I've obviously discussed this with people for, I guess, a couple weeks now, and I think it is a difficult question to answer. And the reason why is because I think a lot of people would lean Oklahoma because Oklahoma has struggled so consistently to move and score the ball this season. And frankly, even if you look at, some of the games Oklahoma played against teams that were not very good, they still had some offensive issues. I think the flip side is, if you're sort of saying, does either of these teams have something about their profile that they do so exceptionally well that could win them a game, that could win them a playoff game just by itself? It is Oklahoma's defense. And so I think you'd probably lean Oklahoma, maybe allowing for the possibility of Ty Simpson really being hurt and you wanting to see a more limited quarterback. If you see Alabama, I think you'd probably lean Oklahoma, but I think that the danger there is, if there's kind of one of these two teams that has a unit, has a feature of itself that can win a game like this just by itself, Oklahoma's defense can do that at a level that I'm not sure Alabama can on either side of the ball.
The Indiana story, Zach, there's nothing literally you and I could do, like our sister station just did a fabulous job, as they do every year, with the WIBC Salvation Army Radiothon, right? So they're on the radio and just nonstop for, hours upon hours upon hours. And you and I could do a radiothon right now and talk till we're blue in the face, and yet we still would not be able to properly illustrate how dumb it would be to rule out anything about Indiana at this point. You know what I mean? Like we've kind of seen that they have now answered every single challenge. But yet, do you still think that people see them, despite being the number one seed, are they the favorite in this playoff?
I don't think they're the favorite, and I'm not sure I would make them the favorite. That's not because they're Indiana. That's just because I think, on balance, you can still make me a compelling argument that Ohio State and maybe Georgia would be slightly favored ahead of them. And I haven't looked at like the national championship odds. I don't know where everybody stacks up. I just think, like, as good as Indiana is, you have to acknowledge that if we're talking about who is the favorite to win the literal national championship, that's as narrow as the margins get. And I would argue that Indy is maybe in the top three. Like, I was texting with a fellow member of the sort of college media apparatus in the third quarter of the Big Ten championship game, and I said, give me these two teams in Georgia against the field. I think one of those three teams wins the national title. I'm sure I'll be wrong because I always am. But I just think, like, Indiana is in that rare air. They are one of the teams that has the inside lane, both because of their seeding and also because of what they've proven about themselves. I think it's worth pointing out. Nobody else has the wins Indiana does. You know, that's kind of one of the.
They have the two best wins, right?
I'm sorry?
They have the two best wins in college football.
They do, and even if you want to kind of go a layer below that, a win at Iowa, a win at Penn State, the way they beat Illinois. I mean, even the non-conference schedule that was such a controversial sort of talking point in the preseason. Well, now two of those teams won 10 games. One of them won their conference. So, nobody's got the sort of what have you done on the field resume that Indiana's got. Now, I think there's some injury concerns that may come to bear on Indiana here in the playoffs. I also just think, like I said, we're talking about the narrowest imaginable margin. We're not talking about can Indiana get to 6 wins or 7 wins, or can Indiana, beat these games we used to talk about where we'd say, the winner of this game has a good shot at a bowl game and the loser is really going to struggle to find a path. No, we're talking about being the best team in the country. And if you're asking me who I think has the best chance to win a national title, I think Indiana is comfortably in the lead pack. I'd probably put Ohio State ever so slightly ahead of them. And then, again, I actually think Kirby has kind of brought Georgia to the boil at just the right time this season to put them in that conversation as well.
Zach Osterman is my guest, Indianapolis Star. He's on the Java House Peel and Pour guest line. Zach, you look at the injury, for example, to Stephen Daly, who, as a defensive lineman was a critical tackle for loss guy for Indiana, and, now we know is not going to be available in the college football playoff. But let me ask this and see how I can word this. Does Indiana have more margin for error when it comes to injury based on the fact that it is not a roster that is built with huge disparity between their starters and a bunch of 5 stars and then their reserves, a bunch of younger players or 3 stars, etc. There is less drop-off per unit with Indiana, and while they are very good players, what Indiana's formula for success is as much about preparation and execution of what their coach wants versus actual jump-out talent across the board, and that allows for greater transfer of execution from one player to the next. Overstating it, or some truth to that?
No, I think that's probably fair, at least to a point. I do think, like, however they solve the Stephen Daly, sort of problem here, whether it is just going to the next man up, which is probably Daniel Ndukwe, who's a sophomore, a little bit undersized. He came over. He was one of the players that was committed to James Madison out of high school and flipped his commitment to Indiana when Kurt Signetti and his staff came over in the winter of 23. whether it's kicking somebody like Mario Landino, who's played tackle for basically all of this season, but did play a fair bit of end last season, out to the edge, whether it is maybe running some more odd fronts. Indiana's been a pretty consistent 4-down front this season, but we saw them run quite a bit of odd front last season, between sort of that two-man game between Mikhail Kamara and C.J. West with James Carpenter on the other side, or sometimes Linnell Carr on the other side. I do think at a certain point, whatever the solution is there, you're giving up something you can't get back, whether it's experience in, let's not forget just Stephen Daly, but also Kellen Wyatt, the Maryland transfer who had looked so promising and was actually the player whose injury kind of gave Daly a chance to come to the fore a little bit more as the season went on. Whether it's the fact that you are having to maybe change the complexion of your defense a little bit this time of year, that could be in moving a player like Landino, who's been so productive at tackle. It could be in changing what you're trying to do sort of schematically and play maybe a little bit more 3-3-5. I do think at a certain point, as I said before, you start to lose something you can't get back. But I think to your point, the question is, what is the margin on that sort of loss versus return? And as long as, particularly what I would say is, as long as Indiana's got its tackle rotation, this is why I don't think Landino maybe moves. As long as Indiana's got its tackle rotation tight and Indiana's got those three linebackers healthy, I think that's the heart of this defense, because that is where it is just so hard to win at the point of attack against Indiana. That the ends, the edges have been really good this season. Wyatt was really good before he got hurt. Daly really came to the fore after Wyatt got hurt. Mikhail Kamara saddled some injuries. He's also probably just suffered from maybe getting a little bit more attention this season, which has probably opened the door for someone like Wyatt or Daly to be a little bit more productive. But the constant has been, in soccer, we use a term called the spine of a team. The players, the quality of the players that run straight through your team, from your forward to your midfield, to your center backs, to your goalkeeper. The spine of that defense has been the strength of its defensive tackle play. Tyreek Tucker has been the first-team All-Big Ten player. He's been an All-American. I think Mario Landino probably got the harsh end of some of those decisions because he was just as good. And then those three linebackers and how good they've been, how versatile and multiple they are. As long as Indiana's got that, I think they'll be okay. And I don't think that your assessment is completely unfair, that there is an extent to which the secret sauce in all this is Bryant Haynes and his ability, especially given some time. And I think that's important here because he's had time to figure out, he's had the best part of a month, or he will have had the best part of a month, to figure out, here's how we're going to solve this problem. This wasn't, a fix that was concocted on 5 days turnaround between games. He's had time to sort of go back to the drawing board, rethink it, re-scheme it, and then a bunch of time in practice, whatever the solution is, to drill it and repeat it and refine it. I think that it is probably, I think your assessment is probably fair there.
I'm curious of this, Zach. I went to Indiana. I grew up in Indiana. My friends, the vast majority of them are, I have obviously Purdue friends. My cousin's a huge Purdue booster, et cetera. But from an Indiana standpoint, the football and the rise with the football program here, from an interest, I see it with my friends. Is this now coming at the cost of the interest and the NIL money and the what's the word I'm looking for here? The support of the basketball program as this continues for football at Indiana?
You're talking about basically, like, does it get to a place where, like football is almost siphoning off basketball?
Correct. Is basketball quickly becoming the secondary act?
Yeah, I think that's possible. Now, I think there are some philosophical sort of questions to acknowledge there, not just specific to Indiana. For example, football is dramatically outpacing basketball in popularity in this country. And I think part of the reason why you have seen Indiana fans take football so quickly to sort of their hearts these last two seasons is just because the climate is ripe for to kind of hand a fan base a newly successful football program.
And Zach, I want to weigh in on that because I did a whole segment the other day about this, and I have no idea why I feel this way, but it seems to me, and it's not because I live in Indiana, and it's not because I went to Indiana and talked about Indiana, but it feels to me like there is this passing ships in the night of the sports fan interest and passion about college football in this country going in one direction and rising quickly before our very eyes, and college basketball and its blue bloods, the Kentuckys, the Kansases, the Louisvilles, the Dukes, all going through this weird transitional era that is hurting the overall regular season interest level of college basketball. Am I wrong?
No, I think that's fair. That was kind of the other thing I was going to get to, which is that I think that where, and Lord knows it's far from perfect, but where this intersection of revenue sharing and NIL and the portal has almost, given college football this sort of NFL draft and free agency kind of, off-season electricity. I know it doesn't happen during the off-season, but we've almost we've built a media industrial complex around covering that the same way that we do the draft, the same way that we do free agency. I don't think, I will be the first to acknowledge that the portal and all that at least keeps college basketball in sort of the public consciousness for another 6 to 8 weeks a year. I don't think that necessarily that has been good for the college basketball product in the way that it has been accepted as good for the college football product. And that may be a little bit of confirmation bias. Like if you just like football more than basketball as a sports watching population, then you're going to like the stuff that comes with football off the field more than you're going to like the stuff that comes with basketball off the court. But I think that where I don't think I have seen, and I don't know if this is a large numbers thing. I don't know if this is really just like a philosophical shift between the two sports, but I think there has been a lot less sort of revulsion and rejection at the idea of the portal and roster turnover in football than there has been in basketball. And it could, like I said, it could be a numbers thing where you can bring in 25 new guys, 35 new guys every year, and there will still be 50 players on your team that were there the year before in football that you recognize, that you've cheered for, that your kids met at some pep rally event or whatever. But you turn over 9 guys on a basketball roster, even 7 guys on a basketball roster, and suddenly the whole thing seems different. So that might be part of it.
I mean, there's something too, Zach, no doubt, when you're like, now is that the Elon guy or is that the DePaul guy? I forget, you know what I mean? And you do get into that for sure.
Yeah, and listen, Indiana's also in this moment I'm hesitant to use Indiana as too much of a sort of like trend setter because Indiana is kind of at the extreme ends of this right now. On the football side, it is realizing success that it has never known, that is just historic beyond what would have been previously considered possible. And on the basketball side, it's the first year of a new coach who turned over his entire roster, his entire staff. It's possible that these things equal out a little bit in 2 to 3 years, that sort of water finds its level, and we don't look at these two sort of programs of being at quite the extremes they are right now. But the last thing I would say, to your point, everyone knows this. Basketball is not the currency that is going to spend your way into safety in college sports in the future. Everyone knows there is another round of consolidation coming, probably in the next 5 to 8 years, once a lot of these TV deals start to be renegotiated at the start of the next decade. Football is what's going to keep you in the room. When the music stops, football is what's going to make sure that you have a chair to sit in. Basketball is something like 1/10 of like the media rights equation here. Football is like, 8.9.
Well, it's why during conference realignment, nobody cared where Kentucky and Kansas ended up.
Exactly. And so there is also that, I think fans, and not that this is good for the sport, I'm not saying this is something that should be celebrated, but I think even fans have come to sort of recognize and support the idea that if you have the opportunity to be good at football right now, that's something you've got to go all in on. Now, there's, again, like you said, we could talk ourselves blue in the face about all of this. There are some other changes that I suspect are going to happen in the rev share and NIL space in the next few years, next couple of years maybe, that are going to make it a little bit easier for athletics departments to fund both of these sports a little bit more fully. In particular, I think there's a decent chance you're going to see schools allowed to add scholarships in non-revenue sports without that counting against their rev share cap, and then basically all the rev share money would just, by and large, go to basketball and football. But it is, listen, it is. I think it is possible at once to say Indiana is a bit of an extreme case right now, and that using Indiana as sort of the canary in the coal mine is probably a little bit dangerous, while also acknowledging that Indiana undeniably reflects the wider sort of trend in college athletics, which is that football in financial, competitive, political, and cultural importance is dramatically outpacing basketball, and there's not really an end in sight on that.
By the way, Canary in the Coal Mine is a great song by the Police. I've never really understood what the term means. Do you know what the term means?
Coal miners used to bring canaries with them into the mines before we had carbon monoxide detection equipment, because and this was always my understanding of the phrase anyway, because the canary would succumb to carbon monoxide poisoning much more quickly than a human would. And if the canary passed out or died, then the coal miners would know that there was a carbon monoxide leak somewhere and they needed to get out of the mine.
That seems, unfair, right?
It does.
Yeah. Okay. That makes, I don't know why the canary though. Like, why not? They're canaries seem like nice birds. Didn't do anything to anybody. Good singers, right? I mean, there's a lot to like about a canary. Why not? Why not a blue jay? They're very aggressive birds. They're they can be a bit of a pest, so to speak. You know?
Yeah, I think it was the ease of use of getting a canary into a cage and bringing it down into the mud. So
You just went to your local pet store, get a canary. Well, I'll tell you that Frank guy that wears that little light on his head, he's in here getting canaries 4 or 5 times a week. What's up with that guy? He better have a newspaper subscription. That guy's got a lot of birds. Okay. Lastly, what is Indiana, Zach, real quick? As Indiana gets set now to go out to Pasadena, has Curt Cignetti handled his? I know that he said, I got to get these guys humbled, and the phrase that he uses, right? Hard work, humble. Is their schedule changed at all? Have they gone about? Have they backed off a little bit to get rested? Have they gone full bore? Are they simply waiting to see who they're going to play? What's been the schedule for Indiana football?
Yeah, so they just kind of fired back up this week. They got some time off, kind of in the immediate aftermath of the Big Ten championship game, which was always the plan. Cignetti kind of, I think, outlined with us even before the game against Ohio State, basically that it would sort of be like immediately following. Everyone would get some rest. There'd be a lot of focus on getting guys healthy, getting guys as fresh as possible, getting treatment into players who've maybe been playing with injuries and different things like that. This week was the week that they were kind of going to get back to work. That Cignetti has said he and his staff were kind of going to be balancing between self-scout and then some Oklahoma, some Alabama. We've heard individual players, including Fernando Mendoza, kind of talk about how they probably watch a little bit of both teams. But typically, as with a lot of bowl prep, you do spend a little bit of time focusing on yourself. You spend a little bit of time sort of saying, okay, let's go back. Some things that we weren't able to work on in the sort of meat grinder of the season, let's maybe clean up some fundamental things that we saw really develop over the last month. Again, let's try to get some guys healthy. And then I think you're really going to see Indiana beginning to prepare in earnest once it knows, obviously, its opponent. The only thing that I think is probably different from like the old sort of standard bowl practice setup is that you used to use your bowl practices as almost like a second spring season.
Totally.
You would give your young players a
it's like
lot
next year
of
prep.
snaps.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's probably gone now. You have to spend more of this time on the guys that are going to be on the field because, you're basically entering almost like a season unto itself now. If Indiana wins this game, they'll turn around and have 1 week to prepare for whoever they play in the Peach Bowl. And if they win that game, they'll have a little bit more time to prepare for the national title. But like once you get back into that rhythm, there's not going to be time to sort of break back out of it and, get a little bit more fundamental or philosophical again. So I think that's the only thing that's really changed now from the old bowl prep is that your younger players, the ones that aren't necessarily going to be involved in these games, probably aren't getting as much sort of quality on-field time as coaches used to almost look at bowl prep as like you got a second spring season. Now I think it is much more about whether you have the bye or you don't. The playoff is we are intensely focused on us here now and getting ready for whatever's next.
I have been in bowl season since September of 1972 because it was at that time I began focusing on myself, and I've never stopped. I'm not going to lie to you about that, Zach. Zach Osterman from the Indianapolis Star, Indiana football, basketball as well. Again, Hoosiers on the basketball side of things taking on Chicago State. That game is tomorrow. You can hear it on our sister station, WIBC. Zach, appreciate the time as always on the Job House Pure Laporte guest line.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, as always.
Now, Zach was talking about balance, right? Things be balanced. And I hear all the time we're imbalanced. Our coverage is imbalanced. Guess what? Not this time, because you talked about Purdue. I mentioned Purdue taking on Auburn. Big one, Saturday, 6:30. Voice of the Boilers, Rob Blackman next.
I was seriously injured. It was definitely somebody's fault, and I didn't actually know who, so I needed to call someone. I was really happy to have a law firm like Hensley that had ethics. I made the best call.
It happens. Hire Hensley.
It's Terry Stacy for Cynthia's Hallmark, and this Christmas, give her something she'll treasure forever. The most sought-after jewelry in the country, E. Newton. Timeless, elegant, and designed for everyday wear. And don't forget the classic Ronaldo bracelets, hand-wired with care in New Albany, Indiana, and these gifts are gifts she will truly love. E. Newton and Ronaldo are available only at Cynthia's Hallmark in Greenfield, and if you're looking for relaxation as a gift, explore the Lemon Lavender Collection. Pampering spa day favorites, perfect for anyone who could use a little comfort this season. And you've got to feel the lavender-scented Warm Pals. They're gently weighted, warm or cool, and designed to give that soothing hug-like feeling. Gifts that fit every budget for every person on your list. You'll find just the right presents at Cynthia's Hallmark, including gift cards. Make your holiday giving meaningful, memorable, and magical. Shop locally owned Cynthia's Hallmark, celebrating 40 years. 116th and Allisonville Road, 96th and Lantern Road, 116th and Brook School Road, and in Greenfield.
You know what would go perfect with that lavender pal that Terry was talking about? How about an ice-cold Surfside? Surfside is sunshine in a can. Look for the can with the sunset stripes. Talking about Surfside, like sunset stripes, but then you open the can, sunshine right out of it. Iced tea and vodka and lemonade in vodka. So refreshing, and just 100 calories, 2 grams of sugar. So it is so easy to drink. Surfside, new to the market, been around for about a year now, and new flavors coming out in 2026 and officially partnered with Purdue Athletics. Speaking of which, Rob Blackman's up next. Surfside, look for it wherever you buy your favorite adult beverages. Please be 21 and enjoy responsibly.
Marcus Morris here with Family Heating and Air. As we're reaching colder weather, you may find yourself in need of furnace service. At Family, we specialize in solutions to extend your furnace life. Call the Fix-It team from Family. You can easily reach us at familyhvac.net. From our family to yours, have a happy holiday.
Family Heating and Air is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Hi, I'm Andy, your friend and jeweler at Shane Company. As a product development manager, I make sure every piece of fine jewelry at Shane Company is meticulously designed for quality. From 14-karat gold chains, pearl necklaces, diamond studs, and of course, dream engagement rings. We know you can get your holiday gifts anywhere these days, but knowing your loved one's gift was crafted by master jewelers? It's a difference everyone can see and feel, no matter the price. All of our fine jewelry begins with a vision by our in-house designers. Then, we ensure each piece meets our high-quality standards every step of the way, including the smallest details. It's why our jewelry comes with our all-inclusive, free lifetime warranty that covers everything and doesn't cost a dime. At Shane Company, there's no shortcuts, just craftsmanship. Because a friend wants your fine jewelry to be nothing short of perfect. Come see for yourself. Visit us in-store or at shaneco.com. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Orlando Indulgent Moisture Body Wash.
It's me, Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash. I see those dry elbows, baby. But don't worry, get moisturized right in the shower. So hydrated you can skip the lotion after.
Don't wanna see you dry no more. Skin so moisturized with body wash.
Look at you now, no more dry skin. Your skin gets the moisture it craves with
Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash.
Food insecurity is an urgent problem, one that impacts real Hoosiers. You can help today. Gleaners needs donations. Your contribution goes further with Gleaners. For every $10 you give, Gleaners leverages their resources to turn your $10 into $90 worth of groceries for families who desperately need help right now. Your gift benefits local community members, and every dollar counts. Gleaners also needs volunteers now to help with warehouse distribution. Go to gleaners.org and donate or get involved today.
Macy's Backstage is inside your Macy's store where you can find last-minute gifts for under $20. With new arrivals every day, you never know what amazing deals you'll find. Find a location at macy'sbackstage.com.
The Ride with JMV.
I go back to January and with Chris Ballard prior to that, just wanting to make dramatic changes because I felt it was time. But when you ask me in the present if I think they're going to do it, I would tell you by what they did with the 2 first rounders, that tells you that they're going to be back. But what would change that? Would losing out this season?
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 till 6.
On 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan. Query and Company. On 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
You know, this is one day Sting was recording, and then he had himself one of the Wrangler energy drinks from Java House. Got a little extra step, song got a little faster. Great song.
Jake, what do you think would happen if you just took the shot of the pod of the Monster Energy instead of adding it to the water?
Be a little sweet. I mean, I think any way that you were to do it, any of the pods from Java House would be outstanding. But you mix them with the water. I did yesterday. I told you exactly how it works, right?
Did you?
By the way, I don't know what's happening. Are you launching a rocket in there? What's going on? Do we know? Is everything okay? All of a sudden, I just heard, it sounded like the sound I was making yesterday of an actual coffee maker before you just take the pod and you put it in the water and whoop, there's your instant beverage, right?
It appears there's some construction going on right outside the building. We left Monument Circle just as the steps finished.
I understand, but have you checked to make sure that guy's not actually coming in the window? I don't know if that went out over the radio or not, but for a split second there, it was a little bit disconcerting. I saw the look on your face. And Eddie, who I'm not going to lie to you, Eddie for most of today has been one aspirin from a coma. But all of a sudden, the canary in the coal mine of the sound of a buzzsaw outside, and Eddie jumped up like I've never seen before, right? That was like you coming out of the catcher stance when somebody's trying to get the second.
I will also say this. I love this new studio in here for me because it gives me the ability to actually stand up more. Versus
It's great.
The previous, I was just, stuck to the ground.
They've done a state-of-the-art job, have our engineers, in putting this stuff together for us. Joining us now on the Java House Peel and Port guest line, he is the radio voice of the Purdue Boilermakers. Purdue with a big one against Auburn coming up, as it seems, Rob Blackman, I think you'd agree with me on this. It seems like the Purdue schedule, literally every single time you turn around, it's a different ranked team staring you in the face.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I would also give a tip of the cap to Auburn as well. Purdue's going to be their 4th top 10 team they've played already this year. This will be their 12th game, and 4 of the 12 have been in the top 10. So you have 2 teams that have not been bashful about scheduling high-level competition, and some of that stuff, like for instance, when Purdue played in the Bahamas. You don't have any real control over that. Whoever makes the tournament puts together the schedule. So the fact you got to play Texas Tech certainly helped, but there's no way knowing going into it. At least as far as the games that Purdue's been able to schedule at their own volition, Matt Painter, as he's been doing the last 5, 6, 7 years, has done everything in his power to make sure you put together a quality schedule and hopefully put enough good teams on there to get you ready for the Big Ten portion of the season.
Okay, when you mention top 10 games, and Rob, it's the first time, I realize that there have been games since then, 2 of them as a matter of fact, but I want to go back to this. One of the advantages of scheduling yourself and challenging yourself via schedule is, you can learn things or take away things for the regular season. That's really what it's all about. But Iowa State came in. It is the largest margin of victory on the road between 2 top 10 teams out of conference, I believe, in college basketball history, with what Iowa State was able to do to completely control Purdue. Did they expose anything of Purdue in that game?
Boy, good question. I think the one thing they exposed, at least answered a question for Purdue that Purdue wasn't quite sure of the answer, and now they know it, is that Purdue's big 3, Braden and Fletcher and Trey Kaufman-Wren, cannot have a mediocre to bad day all on the same day, not against a quality opponent, at least not right now. Matt Painter has said as much. Matter of fact, he talked about that earlier this week. I recorded a podcast with him, and he was talking about that. When you look at Purdue and where they are right now, this very second, December 19th, I guess, December 19th, Purdue is not good enough right now to survive a day when your big 3 have mediocre to poor days, which is what happened that day. And look, if we're going to be truthful here, it was really just one bad half. Purdue was down 4 in the first half and was doing okay. It was just the second half got awfully ugly there for Purdue. So that's probably the one answer that came out of that you were kind of thinking, well, I'm not sure about this. Well, now you know. And as Matt Painter again mentioned earlier in the week when I talked to him, so now the trick is, what do we need to do to put ourselves in a position where, if indeed that would happen again, say somewhere in the Big Ten schedule, can we find a way to win? Because right now, not good enough to do that. If you can work your way towards being able to do that, when the big 3 are playing well on the same day and still find a way to win, then you've really made some progress. But that's the one thing to me, I think, that came out of that game.
Rob, every once in a while, and I know this will shock you, Rob Blackman, our guest, Java House Peel and Pour guest line, every once in a while I come up with terms to allow my brain to illustrate things, and then I realize that I'm the only one that understands the term, okay? So let me give you a term, and then I'm going to explain it to you, okay? I call it the Darren Hancock phenomenon. Now, I'm assuming that you are unfamiliar with the name Darren Hancock, correct?
I am unfamiliar. You are correct.
It is not Herbie Hancock. That was Rocket. But Darren Hancock was when I was at the University of Kansas a billion years ago, and KU was really good. And the big buzz was they had signed the number 1 transfer in the country, Darren Hancock, that was a high-flying 20-plus point per game scorer at a junior college, and he was going to be the final piece for KU. And he got there, and while Kansas was good, he just never found footing and as good as he wasn't good for them. It just didn't work, okay? And you see that a lot with transfers that are upperclassmen because they already have set in their ways kind of the style in which they play. And I was curious as to whether or not Oscar Clough would be a Darren Hancock phenomenon, and it seems to be the complete opposite. Is this as good an acclamation for a guy as you have seen on Purdue rosters?
Well, I would put it in the argument with Lance Jones. If we're just talking grad transfers for 1 year, I think any Purdue fan would admit Lance Jones was the missing piece that got Purdue to the Final Four. Even though he was the worst three-point shooter on the team, if you just go percentages, as far as the guys that were shooting the most of them, even though his turnover numbers were way too high, he still was the missing piece that Purdue needed from his effort on the defensive end, and the fact that he could hit the big shot. You never knew when it was coming, but he could do it. So I would put those two in that same argument. I have to tell you, Jake, of course, last spring was so crazy because the transfer portal had opened up. Purdue was in Indianapolis getting ready to play in the Sweet 16. Look, this wasn't immune to just exclusive, I should say, to just Purdue coaches, but anyone who was still in the Sweet 16 was in this predicament of you're trying to coach your team and get ready to try to advance in the NCAA tournament, but the transfer portal window's open, so you're also trying to make your team better for next year. So you have all these different things on your plate. And I'm telling you this story because I can promise you, spending enough time with the Purdue coaches in downtown Indy last year, prepping for that Houston Sweet 16 game, there was a whole lot of discussion about Oscar Clough is the guy we absolutely have to have. You know, if you said, okay, you can get one guy from the portal, but you have to sell your soul to the devil, it would have been Oscar Clough. That is how sold they were on what they thought he could bring to this team. Sure enough, at least through the first 11 games, he has done just that. I mean, he's the number one field goal percentage in the country, 75%. I mean, he doesn't take bad shots. He takes shots he knows he can make. And that's while averaging 12 points a game. It's one thing if you're averaging 2 points a game, right? But he's averaging 12 points a game, shooting 75%. He's a good free throw shooter, 81% foul shooter. And he leads the country in offensive rebounding percentage. So everything Purdue needed in the portal, they got. And yes, you never know when you're talking about your guy Hancock. You never know when you bring those guys in. You watch them on film as much as you can. The coaches do their due diligence. They talk to other coaches, other players, whatever, NBA scouts, all these guys that they trust. But you never really know. But the fact that Oscar Clough has, yes, acclimated himself not only just to be a good player for Purdue, but apparently it seems to have plugged every single hole that Purdue needed plugged to have an elite team again this year.
Has it come?
That is quite a story.
And I don't mean this to be on the negative side of it, Rob, but I'm curious. Has the reliability and the minutes that Clough is giving them, has that come at the cost of anything else? In other words, maybe taking away a little bit from the establishment offensively of Trey Kaufman-Renn, who has still been very, very good, or the growth of Daniel Jacobson, or is it really the perfect balance kind of across all three?
Yeah, I think the perfect balance, and especially with Trey Kaufman-Renn, his scoring numbers are down, but that's actually a good thing for Purdue. You know, Trey last year averaged 20.6 points a game. That was top 10 in the country. He's down to 13 points a game this year. The reason, Purdue has another viable option in the low post, actually two of them, in Jacobson and Clough. So last year when Purdue threw the ball inside, they were throwing it to one guy. Let's all be very quite honest here. Throwing it to one guy, Trey Kaufman-Renn, that's it. Now you have three guys that you feel comfortable throwing the ball to in the low post. The other thing it's really helped Trey with is his rebounding. You know, last year Trey always had to go against the bigger centers in the league. So his rebounding numbers weren't great, 6.5 or so a game. This year, he's at 10.4 rebounds a game, which is top 10 in the country, mainly because now he gets to rebound against guys his size, the other forwards, the other power forwards. So it's really helped Trey's game. Again, if you're just looking across the board statistically and you look at points only, you're like, is Trey taking a step back? I don't think he's taking a step back at all. He's actually flourished from the fact that now he has a guy down there in Oscar Clough. And look, this is not Zach Edey like, okay? I don't want to – I think I made a mistake earlier talking to some folks. And I said, well, Zach Edey, it was similar numbers when Zach Edey was playing for Trey. No, Oscar Clough is not Zach Edey. Make no mistake about that. However, there are enough similarities there that it at least allows Trey to play his own natural position and really relish in that position. So, while the scoring numbers might be down, I think as a whole, if you're just looking at the team as a whole, it's actually been better for this whole team and Trey Kaufman-Renn himself.
I just think Trey Kaufman-Renn this year, Caleb First before him. If you are a fan of college basketball, if you are a fan of doing things the right way, if you are a fan of selflessness and team concept in what has become fewer, and if you're a fan of Indiana football and you like the fact that it is players that are doing what their coach needs as opposed to what their resume needs, then you should be a fan of Purdue basketball, because Trey Kaufman-Renn and that sacrifice of, I'm going to lose 40% of my scoring, but it's what's best for my team. Caleb First. I'm going to go from being a starter, but I'm going to go to med school and I'm going to do what needs to be done. It's what's best for my team. And these guys coming back and sticking with it. Rob, I just think it is a blueprint in college basketball that literally everybody in this country that likes sports should admire. And I think that absolutely exemplifies it.
Well, I love to tell a story of Trey Kaufman-Renn. The reason he's a fifth-year player is because he voluntarily took a red shirt as a freshman. I mean, think about that. He was the Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Indiana. Okay, we're not talking about Hawaii. No offense to Hawaii high school basketball.
Right.
We're talking Indiana, dude, and he voluntarily took a red shirt because he knew it would be best for his long-term career as a college player. So, yeah, that's a guy that has it all together, and I'm with you, man. I watched that Heisman acceptance speech from Fernando Mendoza, and I was like, what a great dude. What an absolutely great, not only college athlete, but just great human being. And
just ambassador, right?
Absolutely. What a great ambassador for Indiana University. Forget the football part. But Trey, very similar for Purdue, and you mentioned Caleb First and others. Yes, isn't it refreshing as a fan to see these young people that put the team first, the team goals ahead of their individual accolades, and they're smart enough to know. Obviously, I can't speak for Mendoza, and I can't speak for Trey Kaufman-Renn, but I can only assume they're smart enough to know if I'm on a really, really good team,
right,
and I'm a really, really good player, I'm going to get my
shot, right? Yeah,
absolutely. That's all it comes down to. I don't have to average 20 a game here. I can average 13 and 10 on the 6th ranked team in the country, and I'm still going to get the attention that I need.
Do you know the best thing about being the Gatorade Player of the Year in Hawaii?
Oh my goodness! No, I do not.
You're in Hawaii, right,
man? That's
right?
The truth.
There's a kid right now. There's a kid right now in Hawaii that's sipping his Gatorade out of an iced tea glass, and he's like, "Really? 75 and sunny out here, big boy. How are things out there?" You know what I mean?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, unless it's Greg Brady trying to take some surfing waves, things are pretty good in Hawaii. You know? I mean, don't kid yourself, Rob. You know?
Oh, I'm with you. If it was up to me, Purdue would play in the Maui Invitational.
Let's go, right? Yep. But it is Auburn. Purdue and Auburn coming up 6:30 on Saturday. Rob Blackman will be on the call. Rob, if we do not talk to you, have a very, very healthy and happy holiday season, man.
Will do, Jake. Thank you, and Merry Christmas to you. And, let's chat again sometime in the new year.
All right, sounds good. That is Rob Blackman joining us on the Java House Peel and Pour guest line. We come back. There was a story that took place and two athletes in this town that seemed to constantly, in my mind, be connected with one another. And an epiphany hit me today of another connection between the two. I will tell you about that, and Kevin Bowen joins us top of the hour.
Welcome to Wawa. We're open 24/7, so when the sun goes down but everyone's still up, Wawa has your late night fuel. Headed to a hangout? Stop in for snacks and sodas. Binge your favorite shows with burgers and hoagies. Gather around the table with garlic knots and a cheesy Wawa pizza. Or just chill on the couch with fries and whatever milkshake sounds good. Your night just got a whole lot tastier. Freshly made burgers, pizza, and so much more. When you got a late night craving, you got a Wawa. Price and participation may vary by store.
Make this your year. Looking for a new career in the high-demand fields of IT and cybersecurity? Attend classes live online or on campus. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. Financial aid is available to those who qualify.
So what's in the bag today? Yesterday's leftovers? Another lunch meat sandwich? Well, go ahead and pull up a rock and settle in for a half hour of I wish I was eating something else. Or you could be eating something else, or someplace else. If you're brown bagging it at the corner of 30th and Shadeland area, drop over to His Place Eatery for 30 minutes of why didn't I know about this place sooner? Nothing fancy, not a lot of frills. They save that for the quality of the meal. Like ribs that fall off the bone, southern fried chicken, sides that will cause your taste buds to thank you into tomorrow. Put that in your brown bag and eat it. Better yet, bank the bag. Go to His Place Eatery at the corner of 30th and Shadeland or the newest location off 86th and Ditch Road. Your dirty boots and work clothes are welcome here. His Place, your place for lunch. Go to hisplaceeatery.com to learn more. 107.5 The Fan and Franciscan Health present Good for the Heart Fridays. Listen to Jake Query every Friday to hear a heartwarming story from our local community. Jake knows firsthand the importance of heart health. Jake and The Fan have teamed up with Franciscan Health to make a difference, one beat at a time. Good for the Heart Fridays, brought to you by Franciscan Health Heart Center. Learn proactive measures to keep your heart healthy and schedule your heart scan at franciscanhealth.org/screening bundles.
Dan owed an unbelievable amount of money to the IRS.
I got behind on my taxes. It's a horrible feeling.
he was in denial.
And when I got those letters from the IRS, you wanted to act like they didn't exist.
Finally, Dan turned to Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima got me a settlement with the IRS. These people are really people-friendly. It was every bit of a new lease on life for me.
The fast action and the great results made Dan's head spin.
I felt like I was in a dream, but it's real, and I have paperwork to prove it. They got the job done, and life is good.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation.
If you're worried about what's going to happen with the IRS, stop worrying. Make the call now.
Call 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Heat and cool with nearly geothermal efficiency in places you can't fit ductwork with Mitsubishi Electric Ductless Mini Splits.
Just go to AbsoluteComfort.org. That's AbsoluteComfort.org.
With Wawa's Rewards program, you can rack up points on the items you buy every day, even fuel. Boost your totals with a breakfast sizzly. Score points with your morning coffee. With Wawa Rewards, points put the power in your hands. You can choose to redeem them for what you love most, like an iced latte for an extra pick-me-up or your lunchtime hoagie. Download the Wawa app today. When you gotta get rewarded, you gotta Wawa. Fuel rewards not available in New Jersey or were legally prohibited. See full details at wawarewards.com. Price and participation may vary by store.
I'm Mark Boyle, voice of the Indiana Pacers. For your best shot at better water, go local with C&J Water. They're Hoosiers serving Hoosiers, bringing cleaner, safer, better-tasting water to homes across central Indiana. When you purchase a new water softener in November or December, C&J Water donates to the Pacers Foundation, helping those in need here at home. Better water for your family, helping those in need at home and abroad. For your best shot at better water, trust the local pros at C&J Water.
No matter where you're headed, it's nice to know Hubler's got you covered for 200,000 miles. Visit drivehubler.com or any of the 13 Hubler locations.
Butler faces the Northwestern Wildcats in the Indy Classic tomorrow at 3:30 on FM 92.7 Fuego.
Hey, it's Paul. I'm the director of giddiness, and you're feeling giddy on Query and Company on the Fan.
You know, I was thinking about that earlier. We need to start designating some new titles for people in the new year, right?
And we need them to record themselves like that. What we do with Paul there.
You know, Paul actually sounds right there like maybe he had called in yesterday when we were getting the healing, but that's Paul's natural giddy voice.
It is.
I was asked a fascinating question earlier today.
By who? Who asked you the question?
A listener texted me.
We have listeners?
At like 6. 317-523-9288 is my cell phone number. You know, every once in a while I just say, can we do a roll call and see if there are people? Because it is a Friday and it's a nice day outside and people are getting set for the...
Could be Christmas shopping.
An odd week, Christmas shopping.
For that matter, if you just tuned in, make sure you download the podcast later for our conversation with Joel, or not Joel Erickson. That was yesterday, earlier in the week. But
Zach Osterman.
Osterman and Rob Blackman. Still to come, Kevin Bowen, top of the hour.
Again, 523-9288 if you want to give me a roll call shout. That's cool. But this is a really good question that was posed to me. Hey, Jake. In listening to the conversation about Anthony Richardson and his vision possibly being impaired, my question is there any discussion about a possible lawsuit on his behalf against the rubber band company? I'm thinking this was a freak accident that could potentially cost him millions. I am not a person necessarily of litigation, although I do have locked and loaded here my letter that several letters going out, getting ready for the Why Not Indiana infringement, by the way. But it created in my mind, my memory went back to this. And I don't think that they are connected. But it is, to me, it was like this epiphany I had. Anthony Richardson, to this point of his career as a Colt, is the Jonathan Bender of the Colts. Jonathan Bender, a player that the Pacers, of course, going into the 2000 season, they traded Antonio Davis. Antonio Davis had gone in to Donnie Walsh. He had told them of his desire to start. And Donnie always, whenever a player would request a trade, Donnie would try to facilitate it. And Donnie also had a policy that before trading any player, he would bring that player in to let him know that he was in discussion to be traded. The only player he did not do that for was Jalen Rose. And I know that Donnie Walsh has always regretted that. And Jalen Rose was part of a trade with a higher number of players. Travis Best was involved with that, and then they brought back Brad Miller, Ron Mercer, Kevin Ollie, and Ron Artest. But the Antonio Davis trade, when they traded him for the draft rights to Jonathan Bender, who Toronto had selected. And Bender, and when I say this, people laugh at me every time. The Pacers made that trade for Jonathan Bender, A, because at that time they had a roster that was not in need of immediate influx, and B, they saw Jonathan Bender as a Kevin Durant type player, and this was before Kevin Durant. But as they envisioned basketball becoming increasingly positionless, they saw Jonathan Bender as one that could play virtually any position, and they were fascinated by his skill set and his versatility and his range at his size. Jonathan Bender was star-crossed in his career by knee issues and consistent injuries that would pop up to the point where people got frustrated and started labeling him as a bust because it just never got footing here. And Anthony Richardson, from the time that he has been here, has been indeed kind of made of glass. And the consistency of injury has prohibited him from being able to totally show what he could do. But he was drafted here inside the top 5 because of the physical gifts and attributes about him that were so intriguing and still are. And it was not Jonathan Bender was a short window of time. He was in Picayune, Mississippi. He was not a big-time recruit. And then he has a McDonald's All-American game where he sets the record for points in a McDonald's All-American game. And he had grown to all of a sudden being this freak 7-footer that played like he was 6'5". And Anthony Richardson was not a household name. He was a late developer that all of a sudden became essentially this Adonis that played a limited number of games at Florida, but the imagination of what it could be was so intriguing. Jonathan Bender's career came to an end because of an arthritis in his knees that was attributed to, as a kid, jumping off of the roofs of houses from one to the next and climbing trees and jumping out of them. And I was once in Picayune, Mississippi, and met up with his high school coach who drove me around and said, yeah, those stories were absolutely true. But when Jonathan Bender was Pacers after literally a medical settlement for the Pacers from the NBA, he himself developed a knee strengthening device using a rubber band. And he used household devices that still to this day, Jonathan Bender, not only did it allow him to recapture his career and sign with New York and play for the Knicks at the end of his career once his knee had, by his own fruition, repaired itself, but it was because of a device of a rubber stretch band that he was able to do that. And I don't know, I don't believe that is the company that Anthony Richardson was using. I think Richardson was using not an altogether one-piece thing, but simply was rather using a rubber band around an otherwise stationary device. I think that's what happened. But will there be a lawsuit against that band? I don't know. But I did think it was interesting that in thinking about the parallels between those two players, one of which would have had the rubber band device that he essentially invented that jump-started or re-jumped his career, and the other of which had a freak accident of one of those kinds of devices or ideas that potentially now has stalled his career. and we'll see whether or not he comes back. The discussion about his vision and what the vision might be for Anthony Richardson was a big topic yesterday. Kevin Bowen was there for all of that, and Kevin joins us next.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Your home for Indy sports. Now with even more ways to listen.
Listen on air.
Online at 1075thefan.com.
And on our free app.
Stay connected to all things Indy sports, including the latest news, show blogs, and catch up on what you've missed with our podcast.
We're never more than just a click away.
Download our app at Google Play and on the App Store. From your home for Indy sports.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey there, Jake Quarry for Love Heating and Air. Love-HVAC.com is the website. 317-353-2141, the telephone number. Great guys, an official Heil Heating and Cooling dealer, and women as well, over at Love Heating and Air. Been around for over 100 years in central Indiana. And you want a family-owned business with family values when you're bringing people into your home and taking a look at your furnace. Like this time of year, for example, with their 24-hour on-call maintenance. Think about what a huge bonus that is if something were to go wrong with your furnace during the holidays or this time of year when the weather has gotten oh so cold out. You do not want to be left out in the cold, so to speak. That's where Love Heating and Air is so big. And again, I mean it when I say it. You listen to this show. You listen to John's show. You know, we understand that you have several options of where you can listen to the radio or your shows, and so therefore we take it seriously in making sure that we are giving you the best advice on companies that we know are going to treat you right, and that is absolutely Love Heating and Air. Love-HVAC.com, the very best in service, the very best in equipment, and the very best in integrity. 317-353-2141.
Four Winds South Bend's Ribbontown Event Center will be transformed into a night of glitz and glamour for a New Year's Eve party to remember. Enjoy live entertainment featuring DJ Jellyfish and Naughty, party favors, appetizers, and a cash bar. Get tickets now at Ticketmaster.com. Dress to impress and ring in 2026 with a party at Four Winds South Bend. Your entertainment escape.
It's a new season with a new QB.
Football is back.
And so are Bud Light Blue Fridays. Every week, join JMV starting at 3 for ice-cold Bud Light specials, football talk, and chances for you to snag tickets to Colts games and get some amazing swag on us. And get in on the football toss for a chance to win a trip to Las Vegas for your shot at Super Bowl tickets. Join JMV this afternoon at 3 at Whiskey Business North on Pendleton Pike. Bud Light Blue Fridays.
Bowling, 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 keep them balls a-rolling. Bowling, 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 Royal Pin.
Ring in the new year at Royal Pin Entertainment's annual New Year's Eve celebration. Countdown to 2026 with a celebration the whole family will love. Get to Royal Pin from 9 p.m. to midnight on December 31st for 3 hours of fun and family-friendly excitement, including cosmic bowling, a complimentary appetizer board, a midnight toast, and a whole lot more. Each lane fits up to 6 guests. There's plenty of celebration to go around. So bring your friends, bring your family, and roll into 2026 with a bang. Spots fill up fast. Reserve your lane now at royalpin.com.
Set them up, knock them down, send them flying, spinning round.
Royal Pin Entertainment, where fun rolls into the new year.
Royal Pin, bowling, bowling, Royal Pin, bowling.
Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash.
It's me, Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash. I see those dry elbows, baby. But don't worry, get moisturized right in the shower. So hydrated you can skip the lotion after.
Don't wanna see it dry no more. Skin so moisturized with body wash.
Look at you now, no more dry skin. Your skin gets the moisture it craves with
Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash.
Hook her up this holiday season, shopping for her dream engagement ring or a beautiful piece of jewelry. See my friends at Moyer Fine Jewelers in Carmel, the city's best selection of fine jewelry. Tell them JMV sent you.
Do you need furnace or heat pump service and need to find a local, well-trained expert you can trust like Family Heating and Air Conditioning? We'll find that American Standard Air dealer at IndyHomeComfort.com.
From the DriveHubler.com studios, this is 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
WIBC HD2, HD3, Indianapolis. The Pacers head to the Big Easy to take on the New Orleans Pelicans. tomorrow evening at 6:30 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
This is Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Eddie, do you happen to have the breaking news sounder? This just in, I would like for you to please welcome and thank Stacy. Stacy with an I. Female listener 35, Eddie, checking in. Up to 35 now, female listeners. Did you ever think you'd see the day?
I wonder if her mom's got it going on.
Okay. I think we're done here. Okay. Well, thanks, everybody. JMV's up next. Joining us now, and I'm sure thrilled to be doing so based on that little interchange. He is on the Java House Peel and Port guest line, Kevin Bowen. You hear him in the mornings, and he has been camped out over at the Colts complex on this week where it is a Monday, so we still got another show before we get into Colts game stuff with San Francisco. But I want to begin with this, Kevin. I thought yesterday, but again, your boots on the ground, you're able to see, and sometimes you can just tell the temperament of things by being in the room and seeing people's reactions. It felt to me like there were mixed messages between, and I don't mean that maliciously, between Shane Steichen and Anthony Richardson as to the severity of the eye injury for Anthony Richardson and the vision moving forward. Your thoughts by being there front and center for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely been times where, in particular with Richardson, sometimes, maybe what Shane has said or what the organization has said has not necessarily been either heard by Richardson or, again, maybe it sounds a little different to him. I probably walked away from it yesterday as more just player downplaying injury, which happens in every sport. I don't think it was necessarily, the same thing as maybe some past mixed messaging. I think there's a very real vision impairment here, and he's going to have to, I guess, deal with it for the time being. Maybe it gets better, maybe it does not. But that's the reality of where he's at. So, I don't know if you can make a comparison of a person that wears contacts and then they're asked to do some sort of activity or sporting event without contacts in, and, how that sort of impairment would go. But again, the retina has been damaged. There is scarring on his eye that is causing some blurred vision. It could heal. It might not. We'll see what happens maybe in the off season if another procedure is needed. But, I did think Shane's words, if he's going to have to manage it, was probably one of the more jarring comments of the day. It's one thing to manage a sprained ankle, to manage, some level of impaired vision. Again, not to the point where he can't drive or can't, obviously attempt to practice in football. But whatever, if 2020 is, not necessarily there for him, that's what he's going to have to deal with.
Kevin, one of the questions I had about this, and I don't know, it was explained a little bit yesterday, and I was hoping you might know. I don't think he brought it out to show everybody, but I was just talking about, any gym you see, there are devices now they have that it has basically a plastic, round area that you put your foot on, and then it has two handles with rubber, and you pull those out, and that stretches your leg and your arms both, and it's all one contraption. Was it something like that broke and snapped back, or did he simply have bands that he was using to, wrap around a post or something, and the post itself snapped and came back and hit him? Or do we know? The reason why is because somebody had asked me if there was a manufacturer malfunction that could be responsible for this, and then you get into a whole other area, which sounds ludicrous, but at the same time, I thought was a fair question.
Yeah, he tried to explain it yesterday. I don't believe it is the elastic band itself. I believe it's a part affiliated with it, some sort of bar mechanism. Again, I don't know that for sure, but that is my assumption with that.
So it was all one contraption.
Yeah, I don't know if the elastic band, goes on the bar or, how exactly that works, but I believe that is the part that broke, that caused the orbital fracture, which caused the trauma in the eye, and which caused the, I think there was a real period there where they thought potentially he could lose his vision. And, for everything optimism, it is the right eye. So for the right-handed quarterback, I think you'd probably, if you had, obviously it's not ideal for either, but, blindside wise, it'd be more of your left eye kind of looking over that shoulder. But again, this is a very gruesome and quite the ugly scene when it all unfolded for him. And like he said yesterday, there's a point in time early in the recovery process, which is now 2 months plus, that he thought today, i.e. yesterday, wouldn't have been possible, like him even practicing this season. So clearly he has made enough progress with his vision that he is able to do that.
To me, Kevin Bowen, the easy answer is this. And I know that there's still football to be played this year, but it seems almost a foregone conclusion now that you simply franchise Daniel Jones, you tag him, you get him for one more year so that you can see where he is without having commitment beyond that year. In other words, you don't sign him right now to a 4-year deal, which they may have been on the collision course towards doing or the inevitability towards doing before Jones got hurt. So now you franchise tag him and you just see where you are, and maybe you have someone else that takes over for the first couple of games before he then gets back out onto the field in playing circumstance, talking about next year. You think that's a fair assessment?
Well, it's an expensive, franchise tag if Daniel Jones isn't going to play. I mean, I if I'm not mistaken, I think it's north of $45 million. So,
but it's only 1 year though, so you're only committing yourself for a year. Because wouldn't it be more expensive if you gave him a 3 or 4 year deal and then find out that he is not the same guy?
Well, I think that's what the Colts are going to have to find out here before mid-March is, do you sit down with his team, and obviously his team's going to want to try and squeeze every dollar, but, you sit there and say, hey, there's a good chance, whatever, he's going to be limited in some capacity here in 2026. What if we did, $15 million this first year, and then, the second and the third year has a little bit more money on that. Now, again, them saying yes to that is probably a different, answer for you, but I mean, slapping the franchise tag, if you are skeptical about his availability for $46 million for 1 year, just seems really, really rich. I get that quarterbacks can create a lot of leverage, but that's a lot. Now, I think internally the Colts feel like Daniel Jones is going to be ready and could be ready as early as week 1. Now, ready and playing, quality football,
right.
Probably two different answers there. But like if I were a betting man right now, I think the Colts, if you ask me how the Colts view it, I think Daniel Jones would be the week 1 starter.
Does Daniel Jones want to be back, Kevin? Because I go back to that, that Instagram post he made, and we have to overanalyze these things just because we don't get to talk to athletes, especially after they suffer injuries. But when I read that, it sounded and looked like a goodbye message to the fans and to the Colts players.
I'd have to go back and read it. I don't remember myself reading that much into it. I mean, maybe a goodbye for 2025, of course, but I mean, I think if you were Daniel Jones, you have to look at the situation here and realize on and off the field, it helped your career greatly. He doesn't strike me as necessarily the big city guy. And, could Minnesota re-enter the picture? I mean, they obviously liked him enough, and, they did go with J.J. McCarthy. We'll see how McCarthy plays out, and, they'll probably go down that path again. But, that could be a team that enters it. But I think everything that Shane Steichen did for him, assuming it's the same regime, I would think it would make, certainly sense for the Jones camp to want to be here. And he's already made a lot of money in his NFL career. Not that you're just simply trying to go to wherever top dollar is everywhere. But, if I were him, I would say, well, this situation worked out pretty well for me. And, the other one didn't. So, maybe not cut him a deal, but, if it's whatever, $2 or $3 million difference, maybe you're not necessarily going to rush to that top dollar right away.
The last night, Kevin, I assume, I mean, you saw some of, if not all, that last night to me between the Rams and Seattle was the best game so far this season in the NFL. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely got to be up there. Just the back and forth nature, the wild 2-point conversion, the big punt return, the big comeback. Obviously, the wild 2-point conversion, I should say probably plurally, certainly with the backward pass, but also there by Mike McDonald to go for it. So, yeah, I mean, Stafford and Puka looking like the best quarterback wideout tandem they've been all year. Yeah, I mean, all of it. The two divisional teams, great environment. Yeah, definitely.
Because you have to, the reason I bring that up, if you are Chris Ballard, it had to actually make you feel pretty good to an extent. Because I know they didn't beat the Rams. I get it. But I think the Rams may well be the best team in the league. And you also have a Seattle team that, Darnold represents to an extent what a Daniel Jones could be, because Darnold is a guy that was written off by several places, including obviously in the same spot as Daniel Jones a year ago. And yet, once you built around him, last night I thought he showed a lot of pocket presence late in that game. Daniel Jones' post that Eddie had mentioned was, "Thank you to my teammates, coaches, the Colts organization, and all the fans for the overwhelming support. Tough way to end this season, but it has been an honor to wear the horseshoe and play for the Colts fans. I'll miss lining up with my guys, but I'll be riding with them every step of the way. Go Colts." So that sounds like a guy that would be open to coming back. But last night, I just thought that the Darnold situation combined with the Rams and the way that they looked, both of those things have to give Chris Ballard some good feeling moving forward. Question is, does that optimism weigh over and carry over into his boss in the ownership that he has them going in the right direction and should be there next year?
Yeah, I think it's obviously a great question, and I know it probably sounds like a cop-out, but I think with Carly Ursay-Gordon, the first answer would be we just don't know. I mean,
Right.
There's no past precedent with her to kind of judge other decisions off that you might have with athletic directors or owners or people that are in those sorts of authoritative roles. Now, I think when they made the trade for Sauce Gardner, every indication was, well, yeah, you don't do that if you don't think everybody's going to be back. But, if you'd have told me at the start of the year that, assuming this trend continues, the Colts would miss the playoffs, I would not have thought to myself that you would then just run it all back. And it's not like the quarterback position has been solved. I mean, yes, Daniel Jones played, 2 very good months of football, but unfortunately, the most consistent thing to Daniel Jones' career so far has been the season-ending injury.
And the brakes were starting to whistle a little bit there, weren't they? You know what I mean? Like, I know that he was really good through 8 games, but he was also starting to show some of those things that, fans in New York had to be like, see, there's a reason it was TJ Maxx, right?
Yeah, no, that is a good way to put it as well. So even if you want to ignore that aspect of it, which I don't think necessarily you can, but if you want to give him what benefit of the doubt as a player, there still is a question of just, again, overall health and making it through a season when he wasn't hit, very much, and all of those things. So, this is where I just get really torn on it, because the Gardner trade is obvious to me. It's like, wait, I mean, yeah, everybody's going to be back, but, I mean, if they are to lose, right now, what is it, 4 in a row, it could be 7. Let's say they win one of the last 3 but miss the playoffs. I mean, you lose 6 of your last 7 when Chris Ballard, arguably the thing he was most vocal about at the end of last season was we have to find a way to win, end-of-season games better. On the egregious scale of this season, are there others that are above it? Certainly. I don't think – the injury situation you can't totally ignore. But, at the same time, it's like, how much longer are we going to continue to – make excuses, run it back without tangible results. 7 of the 16 teams in each conference make the playoffs. I mean, that's just about half. When this playoff field expanded, back whatever it was, a half dozen years ago, I mean, that created almost half of each conference. And now, if you don't make it for a 5th straight year, that to me is jarring. But again, with Carly, we just don't know.
Kevin Bowen is my guest. Fan Morning Show. Of course, you hear him along with James Boyd, Jeff Rickard, each and every morning from 7 until 10 a.m. on this radio station. Kevin, before we get to your son's pick, I'm curious of this. First off, is your son, does he make it? What do we do on the Monday with the schedule here in terms of your son's Colts picks?
Yeah, they're sitting on the counter right now. I just took out the 49ers helmet. So, yeah, it's sitting there, and we have not made a pick yet. He did pick the Seahawks. He asked if they were big or small. I don't know if your anatomy or your zoology brain would have an answer to that.
Well, I told you they're ospreys. They are rather large. They are basically hawks, but of a water region.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's because I said whenever you do retire, not that you're Phillip Rivers or Matt Ryan, but whenever you do hang it up, you need to go work at the zoo.
That's right. Our friend Jersey Johnny worked at the zoo. It's a perfect natural segue, right?
I love it. I love it.
Okay, so you'll be making the pick when?
Well, I assume probably later today. The Monday game is just kind of weird in the sense of it. It seems like we should be there, but we're not there yet. It's a long wait to Monday night, I believe is what Hank Williams said at one point in time. So yes, we'll release that this weekend. He did again win last week. He was on a bit of a losing streak, so I want to say he's 8-6 on the year, if that's right.
Okay, that I'll believe you. 8-6. So he's the Colts basically, right?
He's the Colts. Now, he hasn't, gone with the Colts each and every week. Obviously, won against them last week, but over time, he is, better than 500. So for those out there in the city of sin, he is. If you were to tail Max Bowen, you'd be making some money right now.
Okay. Lastly, do you have a garage full of bronze from the stuff you ordered for the Ben Matherin statue? Where do things stand with that?
Yeah, it is a little dusty in there. So, yeah, am I going to need to ship that to a new city here in the next month and a half?
Was that ship?
Yes, that was. Every once in a while, we get a little hiccup in the stream, but yes, he did say ship, by the way. So, yes. I do think that is going to be the case, Kevin. We talked about it earlier on this show. I do think Ben Matherin, really good player, really good guy, kind of a quiet dude. I do think probably is going to be playing elsewhere, but we shall see. That's one of the things that we will look for. All right, Kevin, have a wonderful weekend. Pleasure as always, and outstanding coverage on the Colts as well.
Merry Christmas to you, boys.
Appreciate it. Kevin Bowen joining us on the Java House Peel and Pour guest line. Before we get to our Franciscan Health Feel Good, Good for the Heart story, I wanted to tell a quick story, and I've been meaning to do this all week. And it's something that took place last weekend. I believe it was last weekend. But I think, Eddie, you are aware of my fictional media wife, correct?
Emily Longnecker, yes.
Yes.
It's not fictional, though, right?
Well, so if you Google jQuery wife, there are several pictures that come up of myself with Emily Longnecker. And, we get a kick out of that, and she's a dear friend. And let me tell a quick story about what dear friend means, and I don't mean for me. But let me tell you something that I was fortunate and blessed enough to witness recently and where it goes from there. Several years ago, and Emily and I have been friends for a very long time. Emily Longnecker, the State House reporter at WTHR. And Emily grew up in the Pennsylvania area, has lived in Indianapolis now for 20-plus years, came here from Cincinnati. And one day, Emily, this was years ago, Emily was on her way home and saw an elderly woman on a bus stop. And the elderly woman flagged Emily down, asking for, Emily's attention. And Emily, got there and said, can I help you? And this elderly woman said, yes, I'm waiting for the bus, but I don't feel well. I feel very hot. I feel very faint. And I don't know that I want to wait for the bus. Is there any chance you can give me a ride home? And Emily said, absolutely. So Evelyn Springs was the woman's name, native of Alabama, but had lived in Indianapolis for most of her adult life. And Emily gave Evelyn a ride home, and that seemingly was the end of this story. Until a few weeks later, when Emily was outside, and this woman came walking up and said, do you remember me? And Emily, when you work in TV, you meet a lot of people like that. And so she kind of is jogging her mind. And the woman said, I'm the one that you gave a ride home to. And Emily said, yes, of course. I remember you. And she said, well, I wanted to let you know that day when you took me home, I later went to the doctor and found out that I was having heart failure. I have heart failure, and I never was aware of that. And so I think you might have saved my life, because I was able to get to the doctor. And that began a friendship between Evelyn and Emily that I was fortunate enough to bear witness to and then eventually get involved with, because when Emily would go out of town or do different things, I would get together with Evelyn and talk to her, go over, when she was in different aspects of her journey. And a wonderful, wonderful, dear woman was Evelyn Springs. A wonderful, wonderful, dear woman. And Emily and Evelyn were the definition of loyalty that comes about sometimes when you simply open up your eyes and you in awareness of other people and of empathy and understanding. And they had a very special bond. And Emily was Evelyn's family. Evelyn had siblings. She had a brother that passed away many, many years ago in an automobile accident, and she was not survived by any family for quite some time. So Evelyn was retired, did not have family, and Emily was really the person that looked after her, did her groceries, brought her Thanksgiving dinner, and etc. Had birthday parties for her, which is also how I got to know Evelyn. Evelyn passed away a couple of weeks ago. Emily put together a beautiful and wonderful service to celebrate Evelyn's life, because everyone should be celebrated, regardless of how small or nuclear simply those around them are. We all have different levels of the size of people in our pool. And so it really fell on Emily for that responsibility, and in the true testament of friendship and loyalty and strength, Emily has done what she can for Evelyn, but now we are getting ready for the arrangements for Evelyn to be able to be laid to rest near her mother and her late brother. But the money aspect of that is such that Evelyn did not have those means. And so Emily put together, we are really close to getting it done. Emily put together a GoFundMe for that, and I told her that I would, with pride, as a friend of Evelyn's and Emily's as well, let that be known and publicly put that out there. And I will put it right now at the very top on the pinned level of my X Post Twitter account, x.com or twitter.com/Jake Query. Just a couple of minutes, I will have that right there. And a single dollar, it would be outstanding, and it would be greatly deserved, and I can greatly appreciate it. And I can tell you, for a dear woman that absolutely deserved it. Evelyn was a great friend to Emily and will be missed by the people that knew her very, very much. And we simply want to make sure that she is able to be laid next to those that meant the most to her earlier in her life. All right, we'll come back. It is a Friday. It is Franciscan Health Feel Good, Good for the Heart Friday. The way that I saw the loyalty between those two, quite frankly, made my heart feel good. And I want to talk to you about the element of heart health that might be a word you're familiar with, but you don't know a lot about. So we interviewed one of the doctors from Franciscan about that next.
Welcome to Wawa. We're open 24/7, so when the sun goes down but everyone's still up, Wawa has your late night fuel. Headed to a hangout? Stop in for snacks and sodas. Binge your favorite shows with burgers and hoagies. Gather around the table with garlic knots and a cheesy Wawa pizza. Or just chill on the couch with fries and whatever milkshake sounds good. Your night just got a whole lot tastier. Freshly made burgers, pizza, and so much more. When you got a late night craving, you got a Wawa. Price and participation may vary by store.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, it's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch every day from lunch to late night? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Are you looking for a job where you can have a ton of fun and make great money? Twin Peaks is the team for you. They're looking for Twin Peaks girls, cooks, bussers, barbacks, and more. Text WORK, the number 4 TP to 85,000 to apply.
1 second I'm on my bike, next second I see this car coming at me.
I broke my left ankle in 3 places.
I decided to call Hensley.
I realized Hensley was impressive first time I spoke with my attorney.
They just kind of took that burden off my back.
It happens. Hire Hensley.
Hi, I'm Lexi, your friend and jeweler at Shane Company. We'll help you find last-minute gifts that don't look last-minute, even if you're still planning to propose. At Shane Company, we'll show you perfect gifts at perfect prices, in stock and ready to give. Like hand-matched diamond studs, 14-karat gold chains, or the ultimate gift, a beautiful engagement ring. We have longer store hours, so you can skip the crowds and shop when you want, or visit us at shaneco.com. because a friend wants you to be a holiday hero. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
With Wawa's Rewards program, you can rack up points on the items you buy every day, even fuel. Boost your totals with a breakfast sizzly. Score points with your morning coffee. With Wawa Rewards, points put the power in your hands. You can choose to redeem them for what you love most, like an iced latte for an extra pick-me-up or your lunchtime hoagie. Download the Wawa app today. When you gotta get rewarded, you gotta Wawa. Fuel rewards not available in New Jersey or were legally prohibited. See full details at wawarewards.com. Price and participation may vary by store.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin. Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code GEAR for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code GEAR for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code GEAR.
From military life to a rewarding career in IT, kickstart your new journey in a matter of months in the fields of IT and cybersecurity, including AI. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including VA benefits.
The Fan cares, and if you or someone you care about needs food assistance, we have resources for you, including food distribution locations with an interactive map. Also, learn how you can make a difference for friends and neighbors in need, all at 1075thefan.com.
Do you need furnace or heat pump service and need to find a local well-trained expert you can trust, like Family Heating and Air Conditioning? We'll find that American Standard air dealer at IndyHomeComfort.com.
The Ride with JMV.
The one criticism that you have about, well, you didn't prepare. Nobody was talking about wanting to prepare with the backup quarterback earlier this year. And I know some of you are going to say, well, I mean, Daniel Jones does have a history with the Giants of an injury. Maybe you should have had somebody else on the ready. Well, I mean, they did have somebody else on the ready until he about popped his eyeball out trying to stretch before a game, and now he's no longer on the ready.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 to 6
on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan. This is Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
It is a Friday. It is the bottom of the hour. You know what that means. It is time for a Franciscan Health Feel Good, Good for the Heart Friday. And as we have done on a number of occasions with this, we expanded a little bit by having important conversations that I think are not only informative, but really, like I said, important for folks. And in particular, I'm an example of this, folks, because as all of you know by now, I had a heart attack, and it was so odd for me after the fact to then have to check the box that says, you know, that I have heart disease. And I thought, well, I don't really have heart disease. I just had a heart attack. But they are all kind of linked, and I wanted to talk about some of the risk factors that go into that and other such things. So joining me now on the guest line, Dr. Ryan Daly is a cardiologist with Franciscan Health. Again, Franciscan, #1 program by health grades when it comes to heart health, #1 for interventional coronary care by Care Checks, and the $49 heart scan that we will get you all the information for. But before all of that, Dr. Daly, let me say thanks for your time. How are you?
Very well. How are you?
I am well, thank you. And, you know, I'm happy to say, knock on wood, that I am still on the path of proper heart health. And that is, again, like I'd mentioned, it is, to me, one of those things that I knew because of family heart history that I was at risk for heart attack. But seemingly, I didn't have other risk factors, quote, unquote, that go into that. So let's begin with that. What are risk factors that one could have that maybe they don't even realize that they would have, kind of silent risk factors when it comes to heart disease?
Sure. It's complicated, but let's try to get into some big, broad brushes. So the two most powerful predictors of whether you're going to develop a heart attack or plaque if you started to rank them. Number one, smoking. So that's why when you see the doctor and you say you're a smoker, there's a long conversation about it. Everybody knows it's an addiction, but it really is the number one reason why patients go on to develop stroke and heart attack. So that is really where you want to focus your energies. The second most powerful predictor of whether you're going to develop plaque is diabetes. And the worse the diabetes, the higher the risk. And diabetes is really a spectrum, and people even sometimes say that, oh, well, I'm pre-diabetic, I'm fine. No, unfortunately not. So pre-diabetes is, I think I like to think of it as like diabetes stage 0. It's still conveying some amount of cardiovascular risk. The cholesterol gets kind of changed and stickier in prediabetes. So metabolic health, which is this continuum from prediabetes and insulin resistance all the way to diabetes, is a risk factor. So, if you have a lot of visceral fat, there's two different types of fat. There's fat that's in your skin, okay, and outside your body. We call that subcutaneous fat. And then there's visceral fat. Visceral fat's the fat that's inside your belly. It's what gives you, the beer belly or big abdomen. That's the fat that's around your organs. And that stuff's like kryptonite. That's awful. That is metabolically active, inflammatory, and increases your risk for high blood pressure, makes your sugar bad, even increases your risk for cancer, if you can believe it. So you really don't want to have a whole lot of visceral fat. High blood pressure is also an awful risk factor. The way I describe it to my patients, it's kind of like a power washer. If you put power washer in your skin, it's going to start to really hurt that skin, make it very irritable and injured. So high blood pressure creates the same shear stresses on the inside of the linings of your blood vessel, predisposing them to damage. The next one is cholesterol. The higher your cholesterol, the worse off you are. And it's a little bit more complicated than that. We don't really have time to go into an entire course of lipidology, but one of the cholesterol components that we call LDL, the higher that number, it's correlated, although not directly, with some degree of cardiovascular risk. And this is, you need LDL or certain types of cholesterol that we call ApoB containing compounds to create plaque. So, if you cut down all the bad trees in the forest, you're going to have less risk for forest fire. And that's and you're going to get rid of some of the good trees too along with it. But when somebody has, you're saying, hey, I don't want my house to burn down. Well, number one, don't pour gasoline on it. And what's gasoline? Gasoline's the smoking, okay? Number two is let's get rid of all the dry brush, okay? And what's the dry brush? Well, the dry brush is that cholesterol and making sure that your sugar is adequately controlled. And those are some of the things that we don't want to go do. Now we can get into some of the atypical risk factors. So diseases that cause inflammation. So some people have inflammatory conditions like rheumatoid arthritis or psoriatic arthritis, where their body's always inflamed. That's a risk factor. So those patients need to be a little bit more careful. Everybody in their life should get a single blood test called an Lp(a). It's a type of genetic cholesterol. It's a marker of risk. And if that's really, really, really high, then, regardless of your risk profile, I shouldn't say regardless, but in addition to your risk factors, you have higher risk. So we're going to want to be a little bit more aggressive regarding treating you. So those sedentary lifestyle is also one as well. You really want to be physically fit and physically active. So I'd say that those are the bulk of them, and that's probably about 95% of the risk factors that we take into consideration.
When we hear the term, doctor, heart disease, we're so conditioned to believe that disease means that like there's this fungus that's growing through your body and it's attacking, whatever it might be. What labels as or falls under the umbrella of heart disease? Yeah,
that's kind of a catch-all bucket, because you could say that somebody has a bad valve is heart disease. Somebody has plaque in their heart is heart disease. So disease means abnormal functioning of normal physiology. That's really where the word comes from. So when the heart is not, when parts of the heart, and that could be an electrical system, or it has, or the arteries that feed it, or the valves, or the squeeze, that's all the heart. So in my mind, somebody who has heart disease is somebody who has a dysfunction of it just doesn't, your heart isn't like it was when it was 18. Okay. So, and that's a spectrum as well. Some people say plaque or having a heart attack is heart disease. That's true. But I'd also say that having a sick or weak heart, heart failure is heart disease. So it's complicated. It's not a very specific thing. Most heart doctors don't speak that way. We say that they have a cardiomyopathy, which is they have a weakness or a disease of the heart itself. Or if they have plaque, we say they have arteriosclerosis or atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease.
Dr. Ryan Daly is my guest. He is with Franciscan. By the way, we're going to talk about heart scans. And folks, as you hear me mention, you can find out about setting up for a heart scan from Franciscan. Very simple, non-invasive, $49. You can pay out of pocket with these. 833-238-0688 is the telephone number. That's 833-238-0688. Let's talk about that, doctor, the heart scan. You talked about making sure there's no brush around the house in case there would be the situation of a house fire. You can look at that with a satellite image of your house, I guess, and kind of inventory how the yard looks. Heart scan kind of does the same thing, does it not? What exactly is a scan looking for, and who should be really paying attention to this?
Sure, that's a really great question as well. Thanks for asking that. So what a heart scan is, it's a calcium score. And it's not like the calcium in your blood. It's like the calcium in your bones, okay? So what they do is it's a very low radiation CAT scan that provides x-rays. And those x-rays go through the body, and the machine measures how hard different components of your body are and assigns a mathematical value to that. So things that are very hard, like your spine or your arm or your leg, well, those show up as bright, okay? And that brightness is calcification or something super hard. So the body has a limited number of ways of healing itself. So initially when there's injury to the blood vessel, it starts to form a scab. Well, we can't image that with this quick screening test that cost $49. We have other ways of taking a look at that. But as the heart heals, it goes through a process of hardening, scarring, and ultimately forming something that's almost bone-like, which is this dense, hard calcification. The way I like to think of the calcification, I like to think of it as grizzly bear paw prints, okay? So it's not the grizzly bear paw prints that gets you, it's the grizzly bear. But if you see a whole lot of paw prints, you're not going to want to camp there, okay? So that means that there's risk. So when we see somebody that has a really high calcium score, that means there's a lot of grizzly bear activity around there. So you got to go looking. What's the grizzly bear? The grizzly bear is that really soft, non-calcified plaque. We call that's the high-risk plaque, and that's much more likely to rupture, much like pulling the scab off of your knee. And then the body forms a blood clot, and that's actually how a heart attack works. So the more paw prints you have, that means that there's more soft plaque around. So now if you don't have any paw prints, okay, could there be a bear around you? Yes, there could, right? So just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there, but it's far less likely than if you see paw prints all around your campsite. So that's how we have to think about it. If you have a calcium score of 0, in general, on a population level, your risk is lower than somebody has plaque all around their heart. So if they have a calcium score of 300 or 500 or 1,000, that person is much higher risk of having a cardiovascular event in the near term. Now, if you have a calcium score of 0 and you're a 2-pack-a-day Marlboro smoker and you're a diabetic and you have high blood pressure and you do other naughty things, that's not super reassuring to me, because you can have that soft, non-calcified plaque that we're not visualizing with the calcium score. But if your calcium score is 300, you have plaque. Okay, there's grizzly bears around there. We have to worry. We have to be aggressive regarding you and start optimizing your risk factors. So anybody who is older than the age of 40 that has risk factors that we've discussed is somebody that should consider this and discuss it with their family doctor. And then furthermore, I always say that people shouldn't try to make these decisions completely on their own about what their next steps is. This is really a partnership. And what are the next right steps for you, whether it's lifestyle, whether it's exercise, whether it's medicine such as cholesterol lowering medicine, statins or aspirin or what have you. Make those decisions with a learned healthcare professional.
And, of course, that first step that is important is looking up and figuring out and registering for signing up for a heart scan, doing your research on it. Number one program by Health Grades in Indiana Franciscan Health, the heart scan, 833-238-0688 is the telephone number. I know most of you folks aren't going to remember that phone number. Most of you have my cell phone number. Text me. I will gladly and immediately get you the information on how to set up for that heart scan. Dr. Ryan Daly, what I took from this conversation, very informative one and important one, is this, and that is that Smokey the Bear is a grizzly bear, so go ahead and avoid the grizzly bears and the smoking, right? That's basically what we got at.
You got it. That's a absolutely fantastic take home.
Doctor, I appreciate it. Certainly a safe and joyous holiday season to you, and appreciate the time, the information, and the help for everybody today.
All right. You as well. Merry Christmas.
Again, Dr. Ryan Daly joining me from Franciscan Health. Number one heart program in Indiana for cardiology by Health Grades. Number one in Indiana for interventional coronary care and major cardiac surgery by CareChex. Franciscan Health offers the affordable heart scan for just $49. You can self-refer, pay out of pocket, get the free heart health risk assessment with it. That is included in every non-invasive and very easy to do scan. Again, you can go to franciscanhealth.org/screening bundles or call 833-238-0688. That is 833-238-0688. As always, if you didn't have time to jot that down, you can reach out to me. I will get it to you basically 24/7, 365. It is that important. All right, JMV is out and about, I believe, actually at one of my favorite places, and we will catch up with where he is and what he's got cooking when we do the crossover next, brought to you by the good guys at Love Heating and Air, love-hvac.com, 317-353-2141.
Jake Query here. Each weekday noon to 3, guests appear live on the Java House Peel and Pour guest line. Use code JAKE25 at javahouse.com to save 25% on your first order.
JMV here for my friends John and Chris Love at Love Heating and Air Conditioning. Make sure your home is cozy and comfortable during these icy cold winter months. Need heating service? Tell them JMV sent you. If a repair is needed, Love will waive the $95 service fee. And should you need a new furnace, Love is a Heil Heating and Cooling dealer. Call Love today, 317-353-2141. Let Love and Heil take care of your home today. 317-353-2141. Tell them JMV sent you.
Hey there, Jake Query for Chicago's Pizza. You know what? I'll tell you what sounds fabulous. What about tonight or tomorrow night? Pizza night. 2 medium, 1 topping pizzas, and a fresh order of breadsticks for just $25. It is the family meal deal, and it's Chicago's Pizza and their 18 central Indiana locations, 25 of them statewide, which you can find at chicagospizza.com. You're going to a place that has a story in every slice and a family-owned business that treats every customer like family, and in addition to that, considers the community part of their family, which is why they have been so involved in community service. I saw them helping out with the Drumstick Dash, helping Wheeler Mission. They were doing different fundraisers with gift card give-backs for the holiday season, and they're going to be continuing to do that and great work throughout 2026. It goes without saying you love their pizza, but you'd love them as people as well. chicagospizza.com, 18 central Indiana locations and 25 statewide.
JMV here for my friends at Premier Weight Loss. You know what's funny? When I was in my teens, body exploration meant something completely different than it does now that I'm 56 years of age. I can say now that it means Where am I on my weight loss journey? Down nearly 80 pounds. How about my body fat percentage? Down from 35% to 13%. Now it's time to add muscle mass or lean mass, if you will, with the Tone Stimulation Machine that they have at Premier Weight Loss. You can do the same. Weight loss journey and then tone up with Thomas and Samantha and the gang at Premier Weight Loss. It will work for you. That's PWLND.com. Mention my name. For the first 10 days in the month of December, you could win 2 lower-level tickets to see the Niners and the Colts. If you want to lose the weight, if you want to feel better, it's PWLND.com. You can do it. Tell them JMV sent you. PWLND.com today.
Marcus Morris here with Family Heating and Air. As we're reaching colder weather, you may find yourself in need of furnace service. At Family, we specialize in solutions to extend your furnace life. Call the Fix-It team from Family. You can easily reach us at familyhvac.net. From our family to yours, have a happy holiday.
Family Heating and Air is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
The Butler basketball season is rolling along. Don't miss your chance to get in on the action. Your next chance to get to Hinkle Fieldhouse to cheer on your Butler Bulldogs is Monday, December 22nd, when the Dogs take on NJIT at 2 p.m. A weekday matinee. Come see the sunlight shine through the windows at iconic Hinkle Fieldhouse. With most students home for break, there are some great, unique seating options, so buy your tickets now at butlersports.com/buy tickets. Be a part of Hinkle Magic and make Hinkle your second home this season.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband Ryan died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/game. That's ETHOS.com/game.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
So you need last-minute gifts. No judgment. Get an extra 25% off during Kohl's Friends and Family Sale and find great gifts under $20. Like something cozy, something thoughtful, something that says you planned this all along. Yep, you're just one quick trip away from checking off the last gifts on your list. Save now at Kohl's and Kohl's.com. Select styles. Offer ends December 24th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Do you own a small business? You need to hear this. A seismic shift is coming. It's time to get super sure. Not kind of sure, not pretty sure, but super sure. Coming soon.
Butler faces the Northwestern Wildcats in the Indy Classic tomorrow at 3:30 on FM 92.7 Fuego.
This is how we do it.
You're listening to Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
By the way, want to again thank Zinc Distributing and as well Mick Ultra for tons of fun last night. Night Owls. We did our mini hoop challenge. Ultimately, because I will be at another location coming up for this in January, and then ultimately each of the winners from each round of this will participate in a finals shootout, if you will. And the winner of that will be on their way in February to Milwaukee to watch Miles Turner taking on his former team, the Blue and Gold. And you'll get hotel vouchers, the whole deal, all courtesy of Mick Ultra. But it was so much fun to see Randall, who said he drives around in a truck with his brother working every day, and Jacob, who's working building elevators and buildings around downtown, and all the folks that came up to say hi. It was much appreciated. It is something that I know John enjoys each and every time that he is out. And when he is out during the crossover, brought to you by the good guys at Love Heating and Air, we get to catch up with where he is. And John, you're at one of the good stops here on a Friday.
Oh, buddy, Pendleton Pike. I'm right up here. I'm going to go over to Family Leisure right next door and get one of their hot tubs. I don't think they're going to ask me. I'm going to do that a little bit later on, play some video games, and to get water all over the floor, then I'll walk out. But no, this is a great spot. By the way, Jake, you just had one of the smartest human beings I've ever heard on this station, and then I get to follow up that guy.
You know, the thing about
I got Paul Prince all over myself too, but it little different set of circumstances.
His ability to be able to speak to that, though, in a language that you and I can understand is greatly appreciated, right?
Let me tell you what. That was, to me, one of the most interesting interviews of the week right there. I got to thank you for doing that because I thought Dev and I were kind of talking about that, and man, this guy, what a unique ability to pass along information that – normally like numbnuts like me would have no idea what he's talking about.
Totally agree. And that's what I've
awesome.
loved about that partnership with Franciscan is they do it that way for certain. No question about it, John. It's weird because on a Friday, typically we're talking about a Colts game on Sunday. That's not going to be the case. We're going to get kind of a two-step because we'll be doing that on Monday. But I assume you got a show locked and loaded, right?
I cannot wait. We got the normal set of circumstances here, Jake. On a Friday, I've got Monday Night Football tickets to give away, Bud Light Blue Friday. Whiskey Business on Pendleton Pike. It is one of the places. Plus, we're going to find out who the Hoosiers get coming up later on tonight with Oklahoma and Alabama. We got some college football going on. Hey, by the way, last night, did you go to the game?
No, I was
Knicks and the Pacers.
I was at the out at Night Owls with Mick Ultra. It was great.
Did they play exclusively Little River Band while you were there at Night Owls in Beach Grove? Because
they
should.
Yeah. And the game. They played the game, too, and a bunch of mini hoops, right?
I love Night Owls in Beach Grove, but no, you were over there with that, which makes a lot of sense. Hey, I was saying this to Eddie before you and I got started here. It was a great shot that Brunson hit, but he is what I like to call the master foul baiter of all time.
No
Certainly
question.
in the NBA right now.
No question.
But of all time, I am so sick of seeing that. Jake, he's a great player. He doesn't need to do that. And all these pipsqueak, gray-shirted referees let this dude get away from – he gets away with it all the time. It drives me nuts.
He does kind of like a lean in and then quick pullback where it looks like he's been contacted, but he has not been. And you know what I mean? It's I guess there's a craft to it if you want to give him that, but he is a very here's what's frustrating, John. He's a really likable dude and player, but he plays so unlikable that you don't want to like him. Does that make sense?
Well, and also, too, a shout-out. My bad, too. I know Tyler Ford is one of those pipsqueak, gray-shirted officials here from Westfield. My bad. He is definitely a pipsqueak. But, no, I like Tyler a great deal. But I get sick and tired of it. I mean, if we can see it, how do these dudes on the floor not see it all the time? Because it is, Jake, constant with him.
And it's the same as, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's kind of the master at in the mid-range, getting a late foul call all the time. I mean, I guess there's an art to it, and once they determine how the game's going to be called, then you can go from there with it. But Brunson, there were times it was amazing to think that the Pacers were able to withstand that and win a series against them a year ago. But it was a great game until the last 30 seconds. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When you fall down on the inbounds pass play, that's problematic for you right there.
That is
you don't
correct.
want that to happen.
That is correct. All right, Whiskey Business, Pendleton Pike. John will be there. Bud Light Blue Fridays, Colts tickets to give away as well, and we will be listening up until 6 o'clock today. Now, Eddie, you had told me, and there it is, boom. We have this new system here. You got away from the clock, and I looked up, and I thought, well, I'm just going to sit here and tap dance for another 5.5 minutes. I couldn't see the clock. Now I can see it, right?
Sorry, I was doing something, yeah.
Your big weekend plans are what, Eddie?
I think a whole lot of nothing.
Are you still working the lights deal? Because you're gone Monday, right?
I can't reveal what I'm doing yet.
Did they pick you up for another shift?
Until Wednesday.
I heard
I guess Friday.
You know what? You might have gotten another gig besides just the fairground lights, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I read yesterday the Big Head Federation is actually now seen as one of the top 10 rising federations in terms of employment and side gigs in the United States. So I understand. That we're going to see more Kurt Geralds and Atticus and everybody else. I mean, look, for me, it's not like it's like I don't miss a beat, right? I hardly notice you're gone, Eddie.
I doubt it.
Well, there is certainly, from the sunlight standpoint of that little window you're in, there does become kind of an eclipse that is noticeable. All right, we'll be back with you noon. Again, Oklahoma, Alabama tonight. We will know who Indiana's playing in the Rose Bowl. We will preview Colts and Niners coming up on Monday. But you folks have